All right, guys. We are live. It is almost 2 a.m. on the East Coast, quarter to 2. This is everybody's favorite moment of the week. That is, of course, the Shillan and Duffy recap show live on sherdog.com. I'm your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, my man?
I am absolutely electrified. It is so rare, even as long as you and I have watched this sport, which is, I believe, over 20 years in both of our cases, for as long as we've covered it on some sort of professional or semi-professional basis, which is going on 10 years in both of our cases, probably, it's rare. Maybe it's unheard of that something comes along that is as hyped as this is and has expectations this high that either meets them or comes close enough to meeting them to make no difference. I mean, some part of me just said, this is MMA. We can't have nice things. Something's going to happen to ruin tonight. And it really didn't. There are a few things we're going to poke at here and there, but generally speaking, this knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah. Shout out to all the people in the chat. We'll get to as many comments as possible. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about. If this is your first time ever, this is going to be the deepest recap show out there. No one does it deeper than us. Obviously, this card's going to be a little crazy. So, if you're first time or anybody, make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, you do all that stuff. Jump in the chat. We try to be as interactive as it comes. We love our listeners. Ben, you said it. Do you remember the first card you ever watched?
Yeah, first one I ever watched, like when it was new, like when it happened was goodness. It would have been one of the ones in the teens, like when they weren't even on pay-per-view, and I got it on like VHS later. It would have been like 14 or 15 or something. Like I was aware of the single digit ones when they happened, but I didn't really care because I watched a couple fights here and there. Most of them were either complete slaughters or just not that exciting. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So the first card I ever saw was UFC 6. I actually watched it the day after UFC 6. My uncle used to tape like WWF pay-per-views for me on his black box, and he brought over the next day. Thought it was Start Wrestling, started taping it. Then he realized it wasn't. He's like, "Hey, you probably like this anyways." And I fell in love with the sport. I went to an old store, kind of like a Blockbuster Video. It was called Major Video, and I started renting all of them. I've seen every single fight ever in UFC, obviously all the other stuff, but we've been around for a long time. This felt like I was really torn on this card on how it felt. It felt humongous to me, but I didn't get the buzz that I expected to get from my casual friends, the ones who texted me. I got a couple people reached out to me, but generally speaking, and the sport has always been driven around stars. Your Conor McGregor's, your Ronda Rousey's, your Brock Lesnar's, your John Jones, your fill in the blanks. This didn't have that person. However, I think after today, we have that. How this card felt big to me was to hardcores. To all the hardcores, this was as big as it was. Because, in my opinion, we had 3 fights that could headline a UFC pay-per-view. And then we had 10 other fights that could headline. Okay, maybe not Bo Nickal versus Cody Garbrandt. We had 9 other fights that could headline a fight night. And then you stick it on the entire, all in one card. I'm like, this is incredible. So I was a little disappointed that like my casual friends were to get into it, but it still didn't change how excited I was. I don't know how your day went. From the second I woke up, I was like, dude, UFC 300 today. I woke up at 6:45 in the morning. I'm getting close to 24 hours, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. I tried distracting myself. I went to my daughter's softball practice. I'm one of the coaches, and then my son had a fundraiser for wrestling. I went to the gym. I did all these stuff to try to keep my mind away from it, and I couldn't get away from it. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I played Face the Pain for all time's sake. I was super pumped, and holy shit, did this card deliver? We'll get into the grade late. I don't want to do it, but holy shit, did this card deliver?
It absolutely did, and I agree that this card was a love letter to the hardcore fan.
Yeah,
and there wasn't the same sizzle at the top, but as like UFC 100 or 200, but then at the same time, it didn't leave itself open to getting ruined during fight week like UFC 200 did.
Yeah.
Like there's no single fight you could have pulled off this that would have ruined it. Like,
no. Absolutely.
But,
so Conor McGregor, when he fights next, that'll get more buzz from my casual fans. When he fights, I'm assuming eventually he'll fight Michael Chandler.
Sure.
The co-main event could be something no one's interested in. It could be, the co-main event could be Bobby Green versus Beneil Dariush. I'm not saying like not interested. But you get my point. Like that's not normally a co-main event that really buzzes you, and that'll get more buzz. But you know what? I'm a part of me is glad, so I didn't have to like answer stupid texts and this and that. And it was just like, hey, hardcores, here you go. We're gonna go bigger than anything. I like that they brought back some of the old school. Like I love that they brought back Face the Pain. I love that the graphics when they lined the two fighters face up was the old school graphics when you had like Vitor versus Randy and all this. I loved it. I thought it was perfect. I'm just envious that I didn't fly out to Vegas to be there.
Yeah, I feel as though maybe I missed out on a moment that way.
Yeah. So UFC 400, we're doing a live Shillan and Duffy show. UFC 400, we're spending the whole week, and Ben's paying for it. So, anyways,
absolutely.
A lot of people are saying best card ever. Some people are saying the best of the millennium, this and that. We'll get to that grade later. We have a lot of stuff. We have 13, like I said, we have 13 main events to get to. The actual main event was kind of the fight that unified the titles in a sense, as you had kind of two people claiming to be the champion. Alex Pereira defended his UFC light heavyweight championship against returning guy who never lost his belt, Jamahal Hill. Alex Pereira winning by first round TKO. Do you want to talk about the superlatives, or do you want to talk about the act? Because it was very short, so there's not too much to really analyze the action. But I'll say this. So we make our picks Sunday. We tape Sunday night. It goes up Monday morning. We both picked Alex Pereira. We both were pretty confident in our pick. If we don't do like, I know some people do predictions. They do like confident meters. We don't do that. But like, I feel like we'd at least be on the stronger side of that pick.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I do believe in the mind games. And when some guys talk, there's ways that guys talk confident, but then there's also almost a way like guys like know a secret. I started getting this like buzz about Jamahal Hill, like he knows something that we don't know. And he started swaying me like, oh man, like, is he gonna really surprise me? And I started buying, like, I didn't change my pick, and I won't change my pick after I make it. But I started thinking, and I was starting to worry. And then when he like all the things he was doing, like not getting in the cage, standing on the outside, like waving him on, like trying to psych him out. I'm like, oh man, is Jamahal Hill that guy? And then he just played right in the hands of Alex Pereira. He had the worst game plan.
And I don't know if there is a game plan that would have carried him to victory, but this one didn't even prolong the inevitable. I'm more interested in the mental signals I got from the other side, because there was nothing cocky or overconfident or showboaty about Pereira's performance, but there was a moment about a minute into this thing where you can almost see the switch flip, and you realize that Pereira realizes this guy's got nothing for me except a huge lucky punch. Let's just finish this shit and go home. And that's when he waves off the nut shot, because he's like, in his mind, that's a distraction. He's like, it didn't hurt. I'm fine. I'm zeroing in. I'm like aiming the forward observer laser at this guy's face. He pushes Herb Dean aside, and 4 seconds later, with the next real strike he throws, nukes Hill with a kind of like little left uppercut. But when you watch it back in slow motion, it like Pereira looks so calm while he's doing it.
When he, who was the? I'm sorry, I don't remember. I'm the worst at this. I swear I don't pay attention to the referees. Who was the referee for the main event?
Herb Dean.
Herb Dean. Okay. I'm not the biggest fan of Herb Dean, but I actually think he deserves a main event just because it's used 300. He's been around forever. Give it to Herb Dean. Okay. That was one of the most G things ever. He gets kicked in the nuts and just goes, get out of here. And then knocks him dead 5 seconds later.
5 seconds later, And I think that I made the controversial for me decision to turn the sound on for the last 2 fights, and the booth had it right. Like he, I forget exactly what it was they said. So forget me. Move on to whatever was next.
When he was jabbing to the body, and they said if he reaches for the jab, he's going to come over with the hook.
Yeah. Okay,
and he
thank
did.
you.
And he did, and he absolutely did. It was actually DC said it, but listen, I've said this before. I think DC is great. I know so many people hate him. I love it. I think he brings the perfect blend of technical analysis with like goofiness, kind of John Madden type, where John Madden would like kind of dumb himself down, like because if you talk as a big football coach, X and O's, you talk over everybody, but you can still do that. And like I kind of feel like that DC does a little bit of that too. So Alex Pereira, so he seems like to me like a character in a movie or like a WWF, like the 1980s, like when they were like a character. Like I don't know the Brazil, but I don't know what his little, I don't want to call him gimmick because I know it's his heritage, but it's like Brazilian. I don't.
Yeah, like it's
kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly which indigenous people of Brazil.
Yeah,
he traces his descent from, but it's clearly one because it's very specific headdress and makeup that he puts on. Yeah,
yeah. He reminds me of, without the long hair, like the character in Game of Thrones, the Dothraki. He reminds me of a Dothraki, like a real life. Like he would ride in on a village.
He's like the Khal Drogo of
Khal Drogo. He would jump off the horse and just like murder the toughest dude in the town, and then all the rest of them could like pillage and. Let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you 2 questions.
Okay.
We've had some all right, so think about this. He has knocked out Sean Strickland with the left hook. Walked Sean Strickland right into it. In kickboxing, he knocked out Izzy with the left hook. He hurt him in the rematch. He knocked out he finished Yuri with elbows, but dropped him with a left hook. He knocked out Hill. He made Hill fall back the same way Hill hit Johnny Walker, where he like hands go up like this, straight back, like he's like someone just pushed him in the pool. Like you're standing by the pool and someone just pushes you real quick. He is his left hook the scariest weapon in the history of MMA. All weight classes.
It's hard for me to think of something else because other killer fighters usually have a variety of weapons that they'll, depend on.
I mean, Crow Cop's left high kick. It's like it's one of those two, right?
But for one thing, Crow Cop iced as many people with a left high kick in about 20 fights as Pereira has in like 5.
Yeah, and Pereira's just doing it against higher. I mean, Crow Cop was doing it against professional wrestlers and undersized guys like
who's the best fighter he ever put down with a left high kick? It would be Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah, and he was undersized. And Fedo's Alexander Emelianenko. Didn't he drop him with a left high kick?
Yeah, Alexander Emelianenko. So you go from one great fighter into like journeyman really quick.
Yeah.
Alex Pereira is beating the best fighters in the world in whatever weight class he happens to be in at the moment with something that they know is coming.
It's got to be that, or maybe it's like that like little like shovel uppercut of Francis Ngannou that he caught Rose strike with. He knocked Overeem's head off.
Overeem, yeah. Ben Cooley brings up Henderson's overhand right, the H-bomb.
Yeah, okay.
That's a hell of a weapon as well. But again, like to draw an equivalency, you would have to have Henderson doing that to somebody every other fight.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Like
it's unbelievable. Let me double it up. Obviously, I believe MMA fighters are the baddest men on the planet. I think the heavyweight champion is the baddest guy on earth. Usually. Is Alex Pereira the scariest person who's ever fought MMA.
Sometimes he is. Tonight he sure is, because part of you goes, this guy has like 11 professional fights. He has known deficiencies in his game, but fight in and fight out, how many people are able to take advantage of them? Like,
And fairness, he still hasn't been like put against a wrestler still to this day. But again, I think he's been in the right divisions where they're really. We get to one in a little bit.
Who are they shielding him from? You know?
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of been in the right. I think there's a little right place at right time. But the problem is every fight that goes on, and then there's going to be, I mean, he's older, so there's going to be a cliff that he's going to fall off eventually. But for the time being, the next year or two, the window to capitalize on that deficiency is getting smaller and smaller.
Sure.
You know, I can't think of someone who was scarier. I mean, I think of guys maybe physique wise. You know, I think of Shane Carwin.
I mean, Ngannou's the gold standard.
Yeah, that's the guy I was thinking of. It's him or maybe Francis Ngannou or Alex Pereira. I mean, it's.
But you know what? Name me a heavyweight mixed martial artist other than John Jones that you would confidently take over Alex Pereira 3 months from now.
You know who I think actually, believe it or not, would be his toughest matchup? Curtis Blades. But Curtis Blades is also.
I understand why.
Yeah, but Curtis Blades is also. So Curtis Blades could win and take him down and hold him down and use his size. And Luke Wilson just missed an Aspinall. Aspinall would be a tough matchup too. But Curtis Blades is also the guy most likely to get blasted with a left hook and knocked unconscious too. So it would be like, it's like there's no middle ground. It's either he gets knocked out quickly or he wins, you know, holding him down, wrestling him, and eventually getting a ground and pound victory.
Yeah. I mean, Aspinall is, you know, a bunch of people are bringing up Aspinall. That's sure. The other one where I go, okay, Aspinall is huge. He's surprisingly fast for his size, especially, you know, his striking has gotten better and better. But
so let's he said that he wants to turn around. He said he wanted to fight at UFC 300 and 301. He said he wants to go to heavyweight. Right now you have a really not the most exciting, you know, matchup. You add Alex Pereira to that card in the main event. You change one, they're in Brazil, so now it just got so much more exciting for the hometown crowd. Two, obviously just you kind of capitalize on a star. He's big enough that he could go to heavyweight. I mean, it's a good form of middleweight. How he made middleweight is still like the craziest thing to me. But he fights at heavyweight. I don't hate the idea. And you know me, I'm not normally the guy like, hey, keep changing weight classes. But what I like about it is you could fill a void at a pay-per-view. And it can kind of be like an Anderson Silva when Anderson Silva moved up and like fought like James Irvin just because, went up and fought Forrest Griffin, went up and fought Stephan Bonner, didn't change. He wasn't going after the title. And, you know, eventually maybe he could. But just changing up, get a name on there. If he loses, yeah, he lost to heavyweight. There's a former middleweight, he just lost to a heavyweight. Big deal. I don't hate
I don't hate it at all.
I'm not saying Aspinall. No. But pretty much any heavyweight who thinks they can beat him. Yeah. Ciryl Gane? Sure. Give me Ciryl Gane, main event. You want to do Curtis Blades? All right, give me Curtis Blades.
How bad does Jailton Almeida want to fight in Brazil?
Oh, there's another really bad stylistic matchup, though.
I don't know if it's that bad a stylistic matchup. Like,
yeah, like he gets
Almeida is an effective wrestler, but he's not a technical one. I don't think it's a given that he just runs over, picks up you know.
Oh yeah,
picks up Pereira and throws him on the ground.
Yeah, no, I don't think him. Like, you could throw a freaking T-Rex in there right now against Alex Pereira. I'm not confident that T-Rex wins. You know, the way that I know they had. they had him doing the hit track thing, whatever it is, where they punch, and supposedly he not only beat Francis Ngannou's record, he like crushed it. I mean, whatever. I don't care about that stuff. I don't really believe in that stuff, but I like the idea of him going up to heavyweight. Dev just mentioned Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Like, throw him against anybody at heavyweight.
Yeah.
It makes. I mean, the card sucks. Like, let's be honest. That's what happens when you stack up one pay per view so bad. The one and 298 and 299 were both really good too. If you throw him in there and he slugs it out with Jairzinho Rozenstruik or whoever, I mean, I like the idea of Cyril Gahn.
Sure. Whoever it was up the chat that said no way Cyril Gahn sacks up for that, I kind of agree.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying they do it. yeah. The way we do our if you're new to this, the way we do our who's next, listen, we're not in the UFC's office. We're not making phone calls to management teams and fighters and them saying, I want to fight in July and I don't want to fight this guy, or I want more money for this. Like, we don't have that luxury to know what's going on. So what we do is we're the supreme rulers of the world. No one can say no to us. At light heavyweight, if his next fight is light heavyweight, because I still want him to go back and defend the title. Who are you matching with?
Ankalaev.
Okay.
They haven't fought yet. Ankalaev, despite being a unlucky and kind of annoying about it guy, is coming off top quality wins. I mean, he's the obvious choice for me. Yeah, they could do a Prochazka rematch, but
no.
Why not let that one simmer a little bit?
Just Ankalaev, he's been there for a while. He felt like he was almost next in line until suddenly Jamahal Hill was instantly like healed. I don't think anybody expected Jamahal Hill to come back this quick. I thought maybe
clearly Hill's nutritionist did not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we haven't made a big deal out of it, but Hill kind of looked like heavyweight John Jones there. Like, where you could tell it's the same guy, the same frame, but like there's a gut that was not there before.
I didn't think he looked bad. I think there was some, I don't know.
Keith's feeling charitable tonight.
Yeah. I'm in a good mood. I think that's why. Let's be honest. I'm almost getting close to 24 hours of being awake. So by the time the show ends, it'll be pretty close. So bear with anything I say, especially the later we go in this. What I like about the Ankalaev one is, one, you just get out of the way. Like, you can't ignore him. He's not the most exciting fighter. He's not the most marketable fighter. He doesn't speak English or anything like that. But also, he's the one that is the toughest matchup for Pereira moving forward. If Pereira can get by that, you can't use that. He didn't beat a wrestler anymore. Because I wouldn't say Ankalaev is a wrestler per se. Like, he's not going out there Bo Nickal, like going ready for the takedowns. But he has wrestled and he's very good at it.
Yeah. He's he's as well-rounded a guy as you'll find in that division. He is about as big as, he's another huge guy, so he's not going to be at a ridiculous size disadvantage. And he is a smart fighter, sometimes to the exclusion of entertainment.
Yeah.
If he spends a full round just kind of parked in top position or mashing Pereira against the fence, people start booing and wooing. He did not give a shit.
Yeah. And the other issue is you don't really have anybody else in the front line that Pereira hasn't faced. The only other option really is Yuri Prochazka, and he just recently knocked him out. Yep. Now, Yuri's a star, and he's a fan favorite. He's one of the, got the biggest cheers. He had this incredible moment tonight. To me, that's better near December, something like that.
Agreed.
What are we doing with Hill? Because he's tougher, in my opinion, to match up now.
I agree, because all of a sudden you're like, okay, when was Hill at his best? Like, what's Hill's best win? And it's obviously Teixeira, but yeah, I'm saying, like, beyond one great night against Teixeira that we don't really have any idea how it aged. What do we have? We have a really raw guy with some impressive physical gifts and some charisma. having said that, he can't fall too far. I like giving him Rakic. Rakic looked good.
He did look
until
good.
He didn't tonight. Like he was.
I'm giving him Yuri. I know that kind of kills what happens after that, but
I don't hate that either, because that gets one of these guys out of the Pereira Derby for the time being.
Yeah. Well, the other reason why I was thinking it is Yuri's a star, and say what you want about Hill and everything. Hill had the biggest mic moments of this week. He was headline of UFC 300. So like you keep that shine doesn't just go away.
No.
I mean, he just headlined the biggest card on paper in history of the UFC.
Yep.
And in fairness, he came back from a major injury, which if he won, we would probably be singing his praise. A major injury way quicker than people thought. And he didn't take a warm-up fight. Not that Yuri Prochazka is a warm-up fight, but if I'm Jamahal Hill's management team, I'm probably pushing for him to face like Nikita Krylov or something like that first. I'm not rushing him back in to fight for the title.
Yeah, but whatever else, may be said about him and his performance and everything, guy's got balls of rock. Like,
oh, absolutely. I mean, dude, anybody who steps in the cage to fight Alex Pereira has some freaking balls. Yeah. So I feel like Weili Pereira's performing. I mean, he's got a knockout over Adesanya. Obviously, that made him popular. That's been avenged. But if you go by combat sports, he's up 3-1. Though I've said this another time. I think it should be 2-2. I thought Izzy won the first kickboxing match. But he's knocked out Yuri a favorite. He's knocked out. He beat Jan Blachowicz. That was a close fight, but he beat Jan Blachowicz. Now he's knocked out Hill. He had Star. I just think, what would he be if he just spoke the smallest little broken English? Like that broken English where he could just say a couple words, just like endears people. Like the way Weili just speaks a little bit of English every once in a while.
Oh, dude. Khabib Nurmagomedov became a surprisingly big star just because he had an accent and a delivery that made the things he said just instantly memorable or funny or badass. Like, dude, if it weren't his accent and delivery, things like number one bullshit and send location, would be completely meaningless coming from most. So I agree. Learn a little bit of English, because otherwise your option for stardom is just become Fedor or Jose Aldo, just like this king-like figure who just kind of sits and we bask in his greatness. That's it.
Yeah. Believe it, some crazy way when you have a knockout that quickly, and we've already been going for 30 minutes, so it's not like we went really quick. This might be one of the quicker ones that we go, because we still have a lot to talk about. Let's get into the co-main event. All China card. Weili Zhang took on Yan Xiaonan, and I know sometimes I pronounce their names backwards. Some people say Weili Zhang. Some people.
The UFC still gets their names wrong on their fucking shorts. The UFC cannot put a Chinese fighter's surname correctly on their fucking shorts, and those shorts are made in fucking China. Like, how hard is this? You have one job. Li Jingliang, his family name is Li. That's what should be on his shorts. Yan, Zhang. Like, why are they putting people's first names on their shorts, or like they're given names? It's so dumb.
All right, so we had a incredible weirdness, back and forth moments. When you look at the scorecards, I seen most people scored at 49-46. Some people threw some 10-8 rounds in there for Zhang Weili. The fight was much closer than the scorecards would indicate. Because for someone who had possibly a couple 10-8 rounds against her, Yan Xiaonan had moments where she's dropping Weili. She's looked like she's taking over. It hits the third round, and Weili's breathing really hard, and she's dropping with a push kick, drops her with a punch, slams her down, takes like control, and I'm like, holy shit, she's gonna win. And what? And I buried the league if you have a controversy thing to talk about. I'm like, this is an incredible moment where she got choked out unconscious, and now she's gonna win. Like I really thought that it was like she's gonna win the last 2 rounds.
I was tending that way myself at the end of the third round. It was either at the end of the third round or early in the fourth. They put up the live odds and Yan was still plus money. And I'm not a betting man, but part of me would have just been hammering that because Zhang looked like she was toast. And I could she was starting to look tired in a way that it didn't even really matter to me if one or both of the first 2 rounds were 10-8 rounds. It looked like she was going to gas out so hard that Yan was going to be able to finish her. But Zhang showed us something that we rarely see in MMA. Like since even the longest fights are just 5-minute rounds, we rarely see a fighter get a second wind. It's common in great boxing matches where, fighters will even intentionally take a round or 2 off in the middle and lose it and then come back stronger. We don't see that in MMA. We kind of saw it here because Zhang in the fourth round managed to find a way to win the round despite being obviously tired. And then in the fifth round, she just looked fresher than Yan all of a sudden.
Yeah. So at first, I didn't score the first round 10-8, even though she finished with like a deep choke, because if people forget the first half of the first round, Yan Xiaonan looked fantastic. I mean, she was landing hard shots. She actually dropped her with a shot. She was kind of so Weili was really struggling with like the speed of Yan and Yan being all the way up, being all that, and then suddenly bursting in, land a shot, be all the way up, burst in, Holly Holm sidekick. She was looking great. She had at one point, she initiated a takedown, she hit a slam. I was like, wow, like Yan Xiaonan is bringing it. And then Weili just does what she does. She gets her own takedown, she takes over. She is so good on the ground. And we think about how she won the title. I think about her biggest moments. Obviously win the title against Jessica Andrade, starting with a punch. The all-time war against, the first fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk where she butchered her face. The second one, she hits a spinning, back fist. So when I think about biggest moments, those are like the kind of ones that come to mind. But lately, it's just this unbelievable ground game. I mean, she subbed Carlos Esparza to win the title again. She destroyed, battered Amanda Lemos with ground and pound. Tonight, she won by takedowns, control, back takes, lock it in submissions, and we'll get to that. And again, I know I'm burying the lead. We'll get to the submission in a second. Just so good. The reason why I think she found a second win, but she got that takedown on the floor, because I had it like 2 rounds to 1, and with Yan Xiaonan having the momentum, I think she got that takedown. She was able to rest, but worse, I think she broke Yan Xiaonan's spirit, because she, like, you're feeling it, like, oh, I got the momentum, I'm feeling good, and then all of a sudden she just took me down. She just controlled me. She just dominated me. I was just on bottom for like 4.5 minutes. I think it broke Yan's spirit.
I think there was, certainly something of that to it, though. To her credit, Yan never stopped trying to win the fight. She was in it throughout. The rounds were all individually really competitive. I agree that Zhang's ground game over the last year or two has just been a revelation, and it's not just pure diesel. She's not just, because she's always been capable of just taking another 115-pound woman and throwing her halfway across the cage. We've seen that picture of her picking up Francis Ngannou and carrying him around. But here, like, her technique has come so far. And that's what really allowed her to win the 4th and 5th rounds, because she might have been capable of doing that to Yan 4 years ago, but she would not have been capable of doing it in a way that didn't make her more tired. Like, her superior technique, like, she was finding positions where she was pelting Yan, had her on the defensive, had her in trouble, was winning the round, but at the same time, she's not working as hard. And that's just the result of gym time, reps, good technique. So yeah, as scary as it is, Weili Zhang at 34 is fighting the best she ever has.
Yeah, she looks incredible. The one thing, so there was one point in the first where Oh, maybe it was actually might have been the second. I don't remember where Weili was really taking over. And I know I think it was the end. No, because could have been the end of the second. Where at one point she like jumped over, she kept jumping over a wizard.
Mhm.
That's the only thing. You don't jump over a wizard against a good wrestler. For example, Tatiana Suarez. I don't think that's going to work out well. She tries jumping over a wizard on Tatiana Suarez because
No.
you're really out of position. All the opponent has to do is hip up, and actually that's what happened. And Yan hipped up, and that's why there was a reversal. But yeah, I mean, Weili, when she gets on top, and it's incredible. Let's talk about the first round. We almost had a crazy. I mean, if Yan Xiaonan came back and won, we would have had an all-time. I don't know what would have happened. They might have to go to an appeal because the first round ends with Weili Zhang in a deep rear naked choke. She lets go. As the round ends, she lets go, and Yan Xiaonan like passes out on top of her.
You should never win a fight where your opponent had to literally shove your dead body off of them to get up at the end of a round.
I kept thinking about Merab because Merab had way more life to him against Ricky Simon and lost.
Yeah. And I thought that fight, I thought the fight should have been stopped. And another ref who just happened to check Jan's arm with a couple seconds left would have stopped it. Yan was out.
Yeah.
You could tell. Yan did not know where the hell she was when she stood up. She stumbled around for a sec. The cut man is like, I can wake her up. I can wake her up.
Yeah.
If you need to wake her up, the fight is fucking over.
It would have been great. Like I guess he like pushed on her nose or some kind of. It would have been great if it was like the old fat. Like it was like I don't know, the Three Stooges. He just threw like a big thing of ice water on her, just splash her like wake up. So I want to point this out because I don't think anybody's talking. Everyone's talking about her being out, and if the referee jumps in and she's unconscious, because the referee. I'm kind of torn on what should happen because if the referee looks down, she's out. It's kind of like a Carlos Newton, Matt Hughes, and I'm aging myself situation there, where you don't realize it, but then after it's done, like, oh man, she was already out. But then you also get the moments that happens in kick, in striking, they go out and then they kind of wake back up for a second. They got a flash knockout, so you kind of have like a flash submission. You go out for a second, she wakes back up. I want to say this though. In fairness, the referee, like I thought she was still conscious. The bell rings and Weili holds on for like an extra second. And I tweeted, I didn't see another person on Twitter mention like Weili held on longer. And like how much if you're like on the brink of unconsciousness, there's one more second of holding on to that put her out?
It's possible that was what it was as well. But if that's the case, the fight's still over and Zhang is disqualified.
Yeah, the problem is the referee didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
It was kind of like when Jose, I don't know if you remember when Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes was fighting in the second one. It was a really close battle and the bell rings. And then Jose Aldo throws this huge blow right after like Chad Mendes stops and just almost knocks him out. And the referee's like, oh, that was late. That's a warning. And like, Chad Mendes like enters the next round, like knocked out.
Yeah.
Or Jermaine Duranami and Holly Holmes. It happened a couple times in that one. Guys, we see what we're talking about. We're going to talk about Conor in 1 second. Like, we don't want to lose the train of thought. So, all right, let's talk. So I agree with everything. I thought Weili, looked good, and a part of me loves. I root for the best things to talk about, and the best thing would have been if Yan Xiaonan won, and then we had this controversial moment that she came back. We didn't have that, so for the purists, luckily the right person won. She didn't end up losing later. Who's she fighting? I mean, it's got to be Tatiana Suarez, right? There's nobody else.
Well, assuming Suarez is ready to go, because she was supposed to fight a month or two ago and pulled out with an injury, assuming she's ready to go and Zhang she's the obvious choice. The more interesting question is what you do if she's not ready to go. I say Verna Jandiroba.
Yeah.
It's not sexy.
No.
I mean, maybe not even in the not in the literal nor the figurative sense.
Oh,
but
I thought it, but I wasn't going to say it.
But
it's got to be Swerve for sure. Like if she's available, but if she's not available, from my understanding, it's a minor injury. This one, I mean, it was bad enough to pull her out of a fight, but
Tatiana Suarez has no minor injuries.
No, absolutely. She's like Mr. Glass. So Yan Xiaonan, I'm giving her Amanda Lemos.
That is literally the exact same name I put down there.
Like,
it's two women that, I mean, they're still obviously top 10, but nobody wants to see them fight Zhang again anytime soon, probably. So let them sort it out.
All right, let's go to breaking news. I mean, everyone's obviously we're talking about this. We're doing a live recap, so we're not watching the UFC post-fight press conference. I'm assuming Dana White announced Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. I mean, unless we get
they're fighting June 29th at UFC 303.
All right, and that's
we also have UFC 302 is Makhachev versus Poirier with Strickland and Costa in a non-title co-main event 5-rounder.
Well, that kind of ruins my future matchmaking because I'm having to scramble as well. Going against somebody, so I have to change my matchmaking.
Honestly, the most interesting thing about McGregor versus Chandler, aside from that it's actually scheduled and might happen this year, is that it's happening at 170, not 185.
Who's that favor? I still think it favors Conor.
It absolutely favors Conor.
I mean, if you really think about it, Conor at one point was a 145-pounder.
He was, but
he's still big.
I will never watch Roadhouse, but I've seen the trailers for Roadhouse.
I watched it.
That man's got a lot of horse meat to get out of his system. He was asking for 185 for a reason.
Yeah, I watched it. It's terrible. It's worse than you think. It is really bad. It's bad. The storyline's horrendous. It's really stupid. Anyways, Dustin Poirier got a title shot. He should be thanking Islam Makhachev because he wanted to fight in June. So that's happening in early June, and the other one's
late June 29th.
No, but Makhachev is early June.
That's UFC 302. So that's either got to be got to be Memorial Day weekend or the first weekend in June. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is what it is. I you know what? I just keep on. I mean, Conor is what it is at this point. It's going to be so hard to pick a winner of that one, and we're obviously not going to preview it right now. But I'm just happy for Chandler. I mean, that poor guy waited and waited and waited. He held on for that big money fight, and you know, good for him. All right, the people's main event. Justin Gaethje took on Max Holloway, with Max Holloway winning by 5th round KO in it's going to be one of the most memorable moments of MMA that I will ever remember. As this fight, it lived up to the hype. Everyone said it's going to be an incredible fight. It's going to be, I just love these two guys. I love everything about these two guys. I hated when the crowd was cheering Holloway's name in the first round. Max Holloway is the G of all G's, but it was more like I couldn't imagine cheering Holloway and hearing Gaethje hear that and thinking like, dude, I hope
what more can I do? Are you not entertained?
I hope Justin Gaethje doesn't think I dislike him. Like, I love him, these, dude, I tweet during the night, as I know you do. I'm a little more active on Twitter during the fight night than you are, but I had to gather myself. So all my my wife's been asleep since like 9 o'clock. My kids are asleep. I screamed like I literally jumped out of this chair. I was sitting in this chair where I am right now. I jumped up like, holy shit, what happened? I didn't know, dude, just take over. I didn't even know what I get notes. I have notes. I made up symbols that I don't even know what they mean. Dude, take it away. This fight was crazy.
Well, it delivered. It kind of like the card as a whole. It seemed impossible that this fight could deliver on the promise, and yet it did. Holloway obviously is I mean, he was a BMF before the belt was even dreamed into existence, and he was the B side of this fight. Like Justin Gaethje is the most consistently entertaining fighter in MMA history. Like period, full stop. Like name me the boring Justin Gaethje fight. I'll wait.
No.
Like he has won Sherdog's either fight of the year, round of the year, or both, something like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, and Marcus like, 6 and Marcus 6 now. Like
like, and this is one of those fights that it was entertaining despite being pretty one-sided. Gaethje definitely won the 4th round. I mean, we think that's the first time Max Holloway's been knocked down with a strike, which, considering the fighters he's been fighting for as long as he's been fighting them, is one hell of a thing to be able to say. But aside from that, Holloway was a step ahead of Gaethje the whole time, and he was ahead of Gaethje doing different things. He was doing things that made me think he could be successful at lightweight.
So Holloway, so I always think of the moment Odell Beckham made that reach behind his catch, and I was downstairs in my basement and I ran upstairs. I said, my wife's got to see this right now. And I like woke her up and made her come downstairs. I did that. I got up and I'm like, I started going down the hallway to like, oh my God, she has to see this moment. Like I have to tell her right. I'm that excited. I got to tell you right now. And then I said, oh, so my wife, she had a really long day. So my wife's a music teacher / drama teacher, and she's doing a drama play, and she's kind of hooked up with other communities, kind of share sets and stuff. She drove all the way to like 2-hour drive and had a U-Haul, and was her and people were moving sets. So she was a little tired today after doing all that. So she went to bed early, and I'm like, oh, do I really want to wake her up for this? But I'm like sitting there, I'm battling myself. Like, but if the roles were reversed, I'd want her to wake me up. You know? Max Holloway is, I have to say this, so he's my favorite fighter of all time now. Like, dude, yeah. First of all, he looked so physically good. He looked, big, big for the weight class going up. He didn't look undersized. He didn't look fat. He looked like he was healthy. He was fast. His left hand, especially early in the fight, could not miss. Gaethje was struggling getting by the jab, just kind of keeping him at bay. He was landing the hook. What I loved is like everything he'd hit a combination on him or having 1 minute of really success doing one thing, and then he would switch it up, and now he's going straight 1-2s down the pipe. Then now suddenly he's sitting on it. He didn't really land it that much, but something I didn't, I'm really surprised at how many like lead uppercuts Holloway was trying to land. There's got to be something in film that he saw, like, the way he comes in, maybe he was trying to time him coming in or, up the middle, because he kept doing that. Another thing he kept doing was a spinning back kick he kept doing, and it was broke Gaethje's. I'm assuming he has a broken nose right away. He caught him directly on the chin, on the nose.
And I believe, I really think that the fight kind of turned on that. Like Gaethje toughed it out because he's Gaethje, but that happening right at the end of the first round, I think really was a tone setter. And obviously that's what the booth was mostly interested in talking about, because he threw that spin kick like at least 5 or 6 times. It landed with some kind of effect every single time. And it was obviously the result of tape study. He saw that Gaethje slips by ducking in certain situations, and he just ran him straight into that kick. But even aside from that, Holloway kicked more in this fight than I can remember him ever kicking in another fight, because he's more of a boxer that kicks.
Oh yeah.
Like he has good kicks, but his offense is 80-85% punches, but tonight it was more like 70-30. And
that 70 was freaking good.
Yeah, and just constantly, he's reaching out with low kicks of his own, kind of reaching out with a little like flipping like teep to the body and to the lead leg, and it was really effective for him. And again, all the things he did tonight that were different than usual Max Holloway were things that would make a good lightweight Max Holloway, where he's going to be faster but not have the same reach advantage on everybody. Like using more kicks sounds like a good idea.
I love so one thing when he hurt Gaethje and Gaethje really was never the same the rest of the fight. And I mean, I gave Holloway the first round even before that spinning kick, but Gaethje toughed it up because he, like you said, he's Justin Gaethje, but it still limited what he could do. And I think he couldn't press the action because of the breathing. He had to control himself, and he was forced to kind of fight in a little, further outside range, which favored Holloway. He had to fight most of the fight in Holloway's range. Holloway needed a high-paced boxing match. Gaethje needed to be in the pocket brawl, even though that's how it ended. And it didn't work out well for him, but that was his best bet. He just couldn't have too many exchanges. So you mentioned that it was a one-sided affair for the most part. I mean, I gave Gaethje the fourth, but that was it. That said, it was a one-sided affair, and Gaethje is still so good. He's the first guy ever to drop Max Holloway. Even in his worst performance of probably his UFC career, I mean, he's lost fights in the UFC, but probably his worst performance overall, he still dropped the guy that no one's ever dropped before. And that's why I love this sport so much.
Yeah, just absolutely sensational fight. Not much else to say than that. Just
I get.
Well, no, I mean, yeah. Just
Holloway. I mean, the guy isn't human. To think about what he did at the end. You're up 4-1. You're about to win, and you said, now think about it. Holloway's never really been known for his one punch fight ending power, even though he's done it 2 fights in a row now. So it's like it's not when it starts becoming a habit, you got to write that stuff down. He's 2 fights in a row. He's had a crazy walk-off knockout. But for him to have that Ricardo Lamos crazy, he points down to the center last 10, 15 seconds, and let's throw down. And he had the right guy. He had the guy who's like, you're never going to challenge Justin Gaethje's toughness. Like, you never like trying to be, I want to throw down in the pocket. And like, even though Gaethje was nose is broken, and he still said, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And Max Holloway's knockout with 1 second, to me, it's not the most incredible like feat. I like Joaquin Buckley's like spinning catch, kick where he catches it. And that seems something you'd see in a freaking Jackie Chan movie.
Yep.
But it seemed more epic because of this, BMF, crazy Holloway, Ricardo Lamos moment, biggest card of the year, 2 of the, the biggest, baddest dudes ever throwing it down, and then he face plants him with 1 second left. It was, it felt like a Rocky movie.
It did, like almost unrealistic. And Holloway was handing Gaethje his only real chance to win the fight.
Which is crazy.
It really is. Like, terrible fight IQ, but it paid off, and we benefit from it with just a legendary ending, like an ending never to be forgotten of what was already, one of the greatest fights ever. I do want to mention something. I put his comments up there. It looks like we had a newcomer that kind of talked about Gaethje taking 2 eye pokes from Holloway in the early going.
That's a good point.
I don't forget it at all. I wish Herzog would have taken a point. Like, here's the thing, and I feel like I say this every time there's a fight that has a lot of eye pokes in it, but remember this: poking somebody in the eye is not the foul. Approaching them with your fingers extended is the foul. Like, refs are perfectly within their powers to warn a fighter. And you'll hear them say, especially Herb Dean, whatever his other failings, he'll tell, either close your fist or put your fingers up. He's good. He's good about warning.
Yeah, it was Mark Goddard was the ref.
Okay, Goddard, thank you.
Herzog, I think Herzog was the Weili fight.
Yeah, Herzog. Yeah, like I had the wrong foul up. I would have been perfectly fine with Holloway having a point deducted. It was the second eye poke. They clearly were affecting the fight by that point. I don't know if it would have changed how the whole bout played out.
Yeah,
like it's not like Holloway got on his bike to protect a lead after that round.
I think the way guys react changes, and it shouldn't matter. You know, it's like a holding in the NFL doesn't change depending on how you pull him to the left or to the right. You know, it just if you hold, did you hold him? Then it's a foul. And because Gaethje's so tough, he took like no time. He's like, yep, okay, I blink it out, okay, I'm good. It was like 15 seconds, each one. I think that saved Holloway from getting. If it was like a 2 minutes, get the dock in here, have those moments, then I think they probably take a point. But I'm with you. I do think a point. Like, I mean, after what we just got with Chris Weidman, a week ago, and I don't think Chris Weidman's a dirty fighter. I really don't.
No.
It just
I certainly don't think Max is either, but
no, definitely
ultimately
not.
you're responsible for your own weapons. Much as I love our friend Jade Bunkie of the MMA Mic Drop, because the stakes are that high, it's exactly why I would take a point. You know what? He started taking a point on the second warning. They would disappear in 6 months. Fighters would find a way not to fucking poke each other in the eye if refs just started taking a point after the first warning every time. Regardless of whether the fouled fighter takes 15 seconds or 4 minutes and 59 seconds to recover, or they're whining about it. Like, again, the foul isn't poking them in the eye. The foul is approaching them with your fingers extended.
Let me ask you this. We've had crazy moments in fights. I mean, I always think of, Yair Rodriguez versus a Korean on like 1 second left, reverse elbow. Does the magnitude of what this was, I mean, it didn't, it changed the outcome of how the fight ended, but it wasn't going to change the winner. While like Yair Rodriguez, Paul Craig, when he got the sub in 1 second, that changed the winner. Could this still be the greatest finish to a fight ever? And I don't mean finish the fight as in like, obviously there's been knockouts, but I mean like the last second.
It's the most storybook finish to a fight ever. You throw out this, you throw out Craig versus Ankalaev, Demetrius Johnson versus what's his name?
Ray Borg when he
Kyoji Horiguchi, where he gets the stoppage with 1 second left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Yair versus
Korean
Zombie. I mean, this is the most storybook one. This was literally like a scene from a movie, and a movie where if they didn't do it just right, you'd roll your eyes like, oh, like that would happen in real life. Like it was too cool to be real, but ultimately in an effective MMA sense, give me Yair over Korean Zombie, because that actually reversed what the outcome of the fight would have been if it had lasted 1 more second.
Yeah, and it was like a backwoods, throw it up, over like 1 in a million. Like who you can even think of that? The only thing would have been crazier is if the roles were reversed and Gaethje was the one to catch Holloway and plant him, because Holloway was up, he was about to win.
And then what will we be saying about Holloway right now?
Oh yeah, it would have been a
worst fight IQ moment in MMA history. This blah blah blah.
Yeah, we'd be dogging him right now. We're praising him for doing this. Like, hey, that's what happens. Max Holloway. I said earlier on the previous show that he's the greatest Hawaiian fighter ever. I mean, that debate's long gone. Where is he all time?
Where's who all time?
Holloway.
With this one?
Like, no, just John Jones #1, GSP. I don't want you to make a list, but is he top 10?
He's right around there.
I think so.
I don't want to get lost in the moment, and because I have a hard time squeezing someone out of my top 5 if I think about it for more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, and we're definitely not going to do it. We've done it before. We're not doing a top 5. But that range, that like 6 through 10 range. So Jeff Berman is saying, "Are we serious? Like, are you saying he's not? Name me 10 guys better than him." No, I guess I understand. Like when we get to we're gonna be nitpicking. Yeah, nitpicking. Oh, DC, Holloway, Stipe. Yeah, like you're gonna whoever else you want to throw, Chuck Liddell. Whoever, Matt Hughes. You're gonna be. I get it. You're gonna be. I mean, you got to put him behind Volkanovski still.
Yeah,
but you could make an argument that Holloway has a better resume than Aldo. I mean, Aldo has the more title defenses.
Yes.
But Holloway's got the same, like he's got the names of it. He's got the big names on the resume. It feels like it's been longer. He wasn't the champion for as long. And I'm not making the argument that he should be over Aldo. I'm just saying that he could be. And especially because he has 2 wins over him.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Wiz says Max is 22-7 in the UFC.
Yeah.
3 of the losses are to Alexander Volkanovski, and one of them he arguably won.
Yeah.
2 were to Dustin Poirier, and one was like when he was weeks away from being a teenager.
And that's just laziness too. Like it's not taking everything a factor, because I mean his loss to Conor, he was like 19, 20.
Yeah,
like, it's so different. It was just
he lost back-to-back fights to Conor and Dennis.
He should have been on a regional fighting guys instead of being in the UFC. Like he lost to Dennis Bermudez. Does anybody? I like that. I think Dennis Bermudez was a very underrated, great. Does anybody think Dennis Bermudez, the prime Dennis Bermudez, would get out of the first round against Max Holloway now?
Yeah,
he wouldn't get out of the first round. So Dana White kind of ruined my matchmaking, because I was going to ask you, Holloway should he fight featherweight or lightweight? And I was going to argue for lightweight.
I was building towards it. You heard me say a couple times, like, I like the things he did tonight because they pointed towards maybe taking lightweight seriously. But 1, obviously, that's kind of been trash. But 2, just seeing how badly Ilia Topuria did not want to be on camera when Max started talking at him after the fight. No one want to see that.
He seemed pretty uncomfortable. Well, first of all, the you haven't done anything. That's a stupid argument. I mean, now you can argue. Now this is I'm gonna help Topuria. I'm gonna be his manager for a second. If you really don't want to fight Max Holloway, you go, why am I gonna fight a guy that has lost 3 times the guy I just starched? Yeah, like that's the argument. But that's about it. Like there's nothing else you could say, because it's champ versus champ, baddest motherfucker. He's bringing the belt. So he kind of has 3 options. He can go. He can fight Ilia Topuria. Again, this is pre Dana White's press conference, because I was doing this. I was giving him Islam Makhachev. I was saying, guess what, Holloway? You did it. You took the chance. You took it one up. You're the baddest dude. You won. I've seen, Makhachev face Gaethje, Poirier, Oliveira. He's already beaten Tsarukyan. I know that's not really the fairest, but I've seen them. I haven't seen Holloway. I was doing that. Were you doing that?
I would have been fine with that, because if Gaethje had beaten Holloway uncontroversially, there's a good chance he would have been taken on Makhachev next.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead, just do the Ilia Topuria,
which is fine. That's the name I've got there.
In Spain, because freaking Holloway will go there. He don't give a shit.
Holloway, I think Spain would be great. Like
Max Holloway would fight Ilia Topuria in Spain with Topuria's like 3 brothers as the judges, and still wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah. He'd fight him in a bullfighting ring with bulls running around. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. So one option was fight for the title at light heavyweight. Second option was fight at, not light heavyweight, lightweight. Second one was featherweight. Third one is defend the BMF. He still has that. The problem is
who would you even like? Who is BMF enough to challenge for that?
Charles Oliveira. He didn't win tonight, but Charles Oliveira. He's always a badass.
I don't hate that.
I wasn't doing that though, so I'm gonna give him Ilia Topuria. You know who's hard to match up now? Justin Gaethje. He's fought everybody.
And I can't remember a time in my life that I wanted a top 5 fighter to retire harder than I want Justin Gaethje to retire right now. Like,
if we couldn't be completely opposite, I wanted. Listen, if I was his family member, I'd be like, Justin, don't fight again. But as a fan of violence, the guy's gonna end up like it's gonna be sad. It's gonna be sad when he's when it's like UFC 450 and they're like, and he's walking into the octagon and he's on a freaking walker or some shit, drooling on himself. And I'm gonna feel like an asshole. Like, wow, this guy really bashed his brains in for my entertainment. But Jesus Christ, like this dude is what a bad dude. So I had a hard time matching him with somebody. So I started going through the division, and I'm like, who deserves Justin Gaethje where he's not insulting to Gaethje? And I'm like, you know what? We've had this kind of guys on the like Poirier went against Saint Denis and Tsarukyan. So I was trying to find that guy, but then he kind of did that with Fasiv. Like he gave Fasiv his moment. Then I go, how about Money Moicano? He's talked himself into a huge fight. Give him a main event. Fight night.
I like that just fine. Like I actually was briefly considering Turner as somebody who, came close, but didn't quite make it in his toughest test so far. Because I was looking for people coming off losses for Gaethje, like someone like Dariush, but Moicano versus Gaethje, I don't hate that at all. That is, I mean, that's your best fight night main event of the year, or an easy
like
co-main for
event.
Yeah.
And like a weaker main event, like you have like a title fight that really doesn't sell, and you kind of throw Gaethje in there to sell it.
Yeah.
Before that, Charles Oliveira took on Arman Tsarukyan, and probably one of the closest fights on the card. Arman Tsarukyan winning a split decision. How did you score this one? Because I've seen a lot of people was fairly one-sided on MMA decisions, but Twitter was much different. How did you score this fight?
I scored this one for Tsarukyan.
Okay.
I gave him the second and third rounds.
Okay, that's how.
Having said that, the third round was super close, and I'm not mad at anyone who gave it to Oliveira.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So MMA decision had 24-8 for Tsarukyan. I scored at 29-28 for Tsarukyan. To me, sub attempts is really hard to score because there's only one person in that building that knows how close it was, and that is Arman Tsarukyan. Yeah. Because if he's not getting choked and he's just in a position where that we've seen people get choked, but he's not really getting choked, then it's no different than just holding a guy down and controlling him.
Agreed.
So it's a really tough situation, and I couldn't ignore the 3.5 minutes of control time before that, and crucifix a couple times and landed some elbows, and so I went with Tsarukyan, but again, like I understand why people would score it. This had that new change in the division where we were talking about the young versus old, and this was kind of Charles Oliveira's turn. Oliveira's been a guy, he was lined up to fight for a title, and he was one of these guys. He's such a badass. He's willing to take a gamble, take on a guy like Arman Tsarukyan, and unfortunately, it didn't pay off for him.
It did not. You can't fault him though. Like I am hesitant to punish a fighter or condemn a fighter for daring to be great, and just having that kind of confidence in yourself. I don't hate that at all. I agree with you about the grappling thing. One of the hardest things to score in MMA is unsuccessful sub attempts, because they're not all created equal. And there was a long time that if they didn't result in a tap, judges seemed to think they resulted in no damage. Like
sure.
Like you could have a guy in a guillotine, like just fighting for his life for 90 seconds. But if he gets out of it at the end, no harm done. He lands 3 punches and he won the round. Like, dude, like, let me say, I got face cranked last Wednesday, and my face is as ugly as ever. I don't look any different, but dude, I have like bruising on the bone in the middle of my face where putting these glasses on made me like whimper and cry like a little girl and want an ice pack. Like unsuccessful submission attempts, because the face crank didn't work. He did actually have to choke me. Like they're damaged. They do take something out of you.
And I'm sure it wasn't Charles Oliveira doing it to you.
No, it was some.
I'm sure the guy's a badass. I'm sure the guy's a badass. I'm gonna guess that he's not on Charles Oliveira level.
He's not Charles Oliveira. I don't even think he's a black belt, but man, he kicked my shit. Anyway.
Yeah. The one thing that hurt Charles, so Charles Oliveira is the ultimate, like, give me the one smallest opportunity and I can win it. And usually he ends the fight. Unfortunately, for him, he didn't end the fight and he had 2 opportunities. But that's about all he won of this fight. You know, we had a 15-minute fight. He lost, I don't know, 13 and a half minutes.
He had a few moments where he looked good on the feet. You know, he's become a deadly Muay Thai striker who's very adept at switching from fighting out to fighting in, just in the blink of an eye. You know, just getting good at like the short little knees and elbows and stuff. So he had a few moments here and there of that, but my notes here say Arman Tsarukyan is Islam Makhachev light, comma, literally. Because the thing that Makhachev did to Oliveira that nobody else has been able to do in, you know, these recent years is put enough pressure on him on the ground that he can't mount effective offense there. Because it used to be that taking Charles Oliveira down was a terrible idea. You know, there's a reason he was happy to pull guard, because most fighters, he can at least give them all they can handle from his back. He knows he can sweep and end up in top position 30 seconds later, or just tap him from where he is. Like, Makhachev took him down forcefully enough and applied enough pressure and kept him on the defensive that he wasn't really able to do that. And Tsarukyan did a slightly scaled down version of that to him. Like, Oliveira was mostly busy just kind of staying alive on the ground.
Yeah. One of the listeners, Anthem Tardif, just pointed out that Charles Oliveira, last time he lost decision was against Frankie Edgar at featherweight. That's a good start. Nice job on that one. Yeah, what you said is very similar to the notes I wrote. I said, I know, my exact notes is, I know Tsarukyan is really good on the ground when Charles Oliveira is defending takedowns instead of like allowing him to take him down and not fighting it, looking for submissions. Tsarukyan, I was really impressed with his grappling and the way he controls, the way he was leg battling, like take Oliveira down and like hook his leg and moved advanced position, had moments of crucifixion, his head position, his slicing elbows at one point. I mean, at one point he bladed up Oliveira's head. I think he made one big mistake on the ground. Luckily for him, it worked out, and only one judge was swayed by a late surge by Oliveira. It was an incredible back take when Oliveira went to kind of scramble. I don't think he should have done it, though. It wasn't worth it. You're about to win a decision. Stay in the side control. He went for the finish, and that got Oliveira a chance to, you know, eventually get out and then, you know, stink in a Darce choke and almost win it. He shouldn't have done that, but that's what you do. He's a stud. Him and Islam Makhachev are kind of battling it out a little bit. Again, I'm gonna have to kind of hurry real quick. I hadn't taken on Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is fighting for the title. If you're gonna have Holloway, if you're gonna have Holloway fight 145 title, they kind of put Tsarukyan next in line. And being that, you know, they're saying Makhachev versus Poirier in June 1st. That's what, 5-6 weeks from now. Doesn't just sit in the sidelines and take on the winner.
I mean, I don't hate that. I don't know if he'll be down for that.
Like, to wait. I mean, it'd be more than 6 weeks, but like, what would it be like?
I mean, this guy couldn't wait
4 or 5 months.
This guy couldn't wait 4 or 5 minutes. He's punching people out in the crowd on his way to fight Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, I didn't see that, and then I was gonna try to rewind, and I was like, oh.
And then it looked like, and I heard rumors from the venue that he spit on another, which, dude, that's worse than
Tsarukyan did.
Don't, yeah.
And okay, yeah, don't spit on people. That's gross. But what happened? Like, I always
they're yelling shit at him. People, yeah,
there's always two sides to every story.
Yeah, there's two sides, and they're yelling shit at him. It may well have been something like inappropriate or unacceptable, but dude, you're at work. Yeah, just make your way to the cage.
I could never spit on someone. Like, no matter what happens, I could never spit on someone. I would be fired. I'm not gonna give him a pass, but in fairness to Tsarukyan, this guy became like enemy number one. Like Charles Oliveira got the biggest pop from anybody, all week. Before that, like I remember when Tsarukyan did the little like media scrum thing with the one where he kind of said he'd hook up with Kayla Harrison and all that. The amount of fans that got up and said something inappropriate like to him, like, how long you gonna last before you get knocked out by Charles Oliveira, or how long you think you gonna last before he submits you, and just like constant disrespect. He gets booed this week, disrespected. This, I don't know what the guy said, but maybe the guy pushed him. I don't know. Maybe, the guy maybe grabbed him, like you go to like hit someone's hand as you walk out, and they hold on to it. I don't know, but he had a lot of pressure on him, and he had moments. I mean, when the way he got out of the guillotine the first, his pants were coming off. Did you see that?
I didn't see that part. I saw him. I mean, obviously, I saw him get out of the guillotine, but
oh yeah, he escaped, but his shorts was like down by his knees. And to open up the main card, Bo Nickal put his undefeated record on against Cody Brundage, where Bo Nickal won by second round submission. The streak is over, my man. Bo Nickal actually got punched.
He got punched?
I didn't see
it. I mean, he saw a second round. All kinds. Dogs and cats living together.
Did he really get cracked that bad? I didn't really see it.
It counted as a strike.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you're joking.
Like, seriously, I really didn't see it. Like it was like one of those. Okay, I guess he got hit.
No, like he got him with a good solid right hand. So on one hand, the streak is over. On the other hand, looks like Bo Nickal can take a punch. So
there you go.
Yeah, you take your wins where you can get them.
It's so funny because people are so fickle. This guy. The guy's been a professional for less than 2 years. He's 6-0. He's got 3 wins already in the UFC, 2 wins in contender. So really 5 wins under the UFC. He's been professional for less than 2 years. Mm-hmm. He even pleaded his own case, guys, like when they were calling him for I want to step up in the competition, but I'm not ready to fight the champion. I turned MMA 2 years ago.
Oh, dude, he was booing his own performance and giving himself the thumbs down after the fight ended. The hype surrounding him is not of his making. And that's all I really care about. All I want to be sure of is that he's not reading his own press clippings and getting, full of himself. If he stays humble, he's going to be fine. Having said that, there were some problems tonight.
I think
Having said that, there were some problems tonight.
I don't think so, but go ahead.
I don't know that he has a discernible game plan when he goes out there. I feel like he's just winging it and confident that he's going to come out on top, whatever the fight happens to throw at him. On the ground in particular, he seemed to be rushing things a little bit, which I think is why Brundage had as much, I mean, I don't want to say success. It's not like he had Nickal in trouble, but he reversed him pretty good.
Wow. He used... Bo was going to take down, and he kind of was out of position. He kind of got thrown, really. But it was if that was a wrestling match, he gets no points for it. Bo knee picked him about 15 seconds later, took him down. I mean, what was the most successful thing he did? Bo had his back, and he held onto his arm for the last 35 seconds or something of the first round.
Well, I mean, that and the punch, I'd say.
Okay. Was he hurt? I mean, I didn't see it. I'm not trying to be a Bo Nickal. I didn't see it. I know Mark Montoya was going crazy. He's hurt. And I'm
man, it was within the first minute to minute and 15 seconds of the fight, and Nickal was not hurt in any meaningful way, especially because Brundage wasn't able to follow it up with anything. But I mean, it was a good punch.
Okay. It's so funny. I saw some people oh, he didn't look so good. He took him this long to take him out. And Jake Malkoon. Yeah, he also turtled up and didn't do anything. It's hard to look good when a guy just turtles up and doesn't try to escape, just kind of accepts that, okay, you're down. I'm down 1-0-0. You're just kind of holding on, not trying to make offense. I remember he stopped the takedown for Bo Nickal. I saw people saying that yeah. And he also got taken down 3 times or something like that. Habib shot and people blocked his takedowns.
Sure.
You know, like, Cody Burns went to the second round. Bo Nickal, he can't be that good. I'm like, who's the guy there that Habib set the takedown record on? That went the whole distance against Habib.
Oh, Abel Trujillo.
Abel Trujillo went the distance with Habib. So
yeah,
it's like, and Habib had way more experience than Bo Nickal did. And like, how do you watch? And we're gonna get into a second. How do you watch what Aljamain Sterling did to Calvin Cade tonight and say, and think what Aljamain Sterling won the title and say Bo can't do that?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's match make. You know, I'm giving. I think the perfect match is out there for Bo. I think it's the easiest match. I'm the only person on planet Earth saying this. To me, they actually, you know, Chris Weidman was on the weigh-in show. They had Bo Nickal come in. They were sitting there. So Chris Weidman's the perfect opponent for Bo Nickal. That's the next step up. I don't get how people don't see it. He's a big name. He's the biggest name with the least risk, but still step up in competition.
At some point, we're going to need to see how Nickal deals with eye pokes.
That's good. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, is he got Jason Gaethje here? Is he?
I mean, I like that just fine. Some of the names that I saw thrown out, I mean, this may sound ridiculous in hindsight if Nickal becomes a UFC champ and defends 10 times, but I don't think he's ready for Anthony Hernandez right now.
Well, he called it himself. That's the problem.
Don't do that.
They were pressing him to ask for a fight, and they're like, "Oh, who do you want?" He's like, "Oh, I just want to step up. Who do you want to fight?" And he asked him like 3 times. They wanted him to throw a name, and he's like, "I'll fight Anthony Hernandez. He's pretty good. I'll fight Kopolov." And I'm like, "Those are not the names." Well, Anthony Hernandez is like the most underrated guy.
Yeah.
The one argument though for Bo against Anthony and Anthony Hernandez is already booked, but Anthony Hernandez, a big part of his game is winning with wrestling. Could he do that against Bo Nickal? Now, I don't think he get those first early takedowns, but the way Hernandez works, Bo can. That's why I keep saying like, "Oh, he stopped takedowns from Bo." Like, watch Anthony Hernandez. He doesn't get the first takedown. It just he has the mindset of keep going, and then it gets the second, the third, the fourth, and that's how he wins.
Yeah.
And can we end the Bo can't take him down? Jamie Pickett when he threw around Cody Burnage, a more decorated wrestler, a couple of times. All right, let's move on. I mean, good for Cody Burnage. He can tell his grandchildren that he was on the main card of UFC 300 one day.
Yep, and he was the first person to hit Bo Nickal.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go to the prelims. Before that, former light heavyweight champion Yuri Prochazka took on Alexander Rakic, winning by second round TKO. So the first time when I was watching these guys, I kept thinking the same thing. This is the same weight class like Chuck Liddell fought in. How big are these guys compared to like that generation of light heavyweight?
I said the exact same thing in the Sherdog chat, where light heavyweight is still a weird division. Like it's always super top heavy. Like the top guys are great. By the time you get down to number 10, they're not so good. And it's a weirdly low fight IQ division. Like they're not unskilled. It's not heavyweight, but only at light heavyweight do the Johnny Walkers and what's his name? I can't think of his name right now, but he's extra dumb. Make it into the top 10.
Extra dumb.
Ukrainian guy.
Nikita Krylov?
Yeah, Nikita Krylovs of the world. You know, not only at light heavyweight does like Iwan Kudalaba hang around the bottom edges of the rankings for 5 years. Yeah. But so it's not a better division necessarily, but they've gotten so huge. They're so like the top 10 is full of just enormous guys. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely huge. This was both guys did what they do well at different points. So Rakic looked fit. I mean, his leg kicks. I mean, he was taking out Yuri, kicking him. The problem is, I think Rakic got overconfident. He started feeling himself, and there was times where Prochazka was biting down his mouthpiece, swinging wild. And Rakic was moving out of the way of those shots and landing the better counters. The problem is you're playing with fire. He should have been on his bike. He shouldn't have been staying in the defense. When Yuri over pursued, he should have got some takedowns. He didn't do that. And Yuri can fight. And I know I was watching him like he's pressing him. He's pressing him. He's getting him on his back foot. Like this is not going to end up good. And Yuri has, shout out to Lev who pointed this out. Yuri has all-time power. He's got 26 knockouts in his career.
Mm-hmm.
When he connects, guys go dead. And that's what happened to Rakic.
That's pretty much it. And, man, so Prochazka has greatly exceeded the expectations I had when he came over from Ryzen. I was like, he's going to be a whole lot of fun, but a guy as wild as he is, even at light heavyweight, it's not. Like, I thought of him as a deluxe version of Johnny Walker, where his wildness and his physical gifts are going to get him some highlights and some big wins, but he's never going to string together enough wins to like actually threaten to win a title. Obviously, I was wrong about that. He won a title. But in this fight, just some of that, I got some of that feeling back where, you know what? Rakic kind of gave this fight away. I completely agree that, that both guys fought their best fight at different points in the fight, but Prochazka, in some ways, only got the chance to because Rakic left the door open. And even though Prochazka got another knockout for the highlight reel, I didn't see anything tonight that's going to keep Alex Pereira up in cold sweats at night.
Oh, no.
Because being a wild and unpredictable striker just doesn't hold that much water when you have someone who's seen everything.
Yeah, Pereira won't let you off the hook like Rakic did.
No, you saw what Pereira did to Hill. He watched him for a minute. He's like, okay, I know what this guy has got. All right, let's slam this door. He did it to Prochazka the first time, and I think he'd do it even worse if they fought again.
Yeah, I agree. So like it was saying, let someone off the hook. Like that's what like Rakic. He's like the fisherman trying to scoop the fish on it, and Pereira's like the guy on the side of the wall with a spear and just spears the fish. You know, don't worry about it. He doesn't even throw a freaking hook in there. Yeah. So this is what in fairness to Prochazka, this is what he does. He gets down early in fights and he comes back with power. I mean, like Dominic Reyes had some success early in the fight, and then he gets starched. I mean, Glover Teixeira was one round away from winning. Like he was 1 minute away from winning, or what it was. Oosthuizen was doing well in the debut early before he got starched. And obviously now Rakic, I mean, he's got that ultimate equalizer. If he catches, that's what he does. I didn't realize how big of a star he is. Like, I didn't realize how big of a fan favorite until this week. Like, he got a big pop. I went with Jamahal Hill already. What would you do with Rakic? I'm sorry, with Prochazka moving forward?
Because I don't want him back in another like title shot immediately. I mean, I'd be fine with him fighting Hill next. Honestly, I'd be fine if they want to pull up one of the few people in the division he hasn't fought yet. Like, but yeah, like just Hill was kind of on my mind. Like, just they both fought the same night. Like, push that together, see who comes out.
Yeah, Rakic is in a tough situation, being that he had a 2-year layoff. He hasn't won in a really long time. Jamahal Hill, he just deserves a name. Like he's on this crazy streak. I'm sorry, not Jamahal. Cleo Rountree. Cleo Rountree's on this big streak. I love that. Yeah, sorry, it's late, so yeah. my brain might be saying wrong names and stuff. Yeah, it's time for Cleo to get a big fight. Give him Rakic. Probably the worst fight of the night happened as former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling made his featherweight debut, taking on New England's own Calvin Kattar. And let me ask you this: did Aljamain Sterling look good, or did Calvin Kattar look bad?
That's the question of the night. I do think it's a little of both, and I feel bad saying it because I hate taking away from the winner's performance, and I saw a lot of things Sterling did that made me optimistic about whatever run he has at featherweight. But having said that, Kattar looked terrible.
He looks really
Like
bad.
Kattar looked. I mean, he had no answer for the wrestling. That's one thing. And then two, even when they were on the feet, like he looked kind of befuddled by Sterling's speed. He never really could get his jab working in spite of being like visibly the taller, rangier guy. And on some level, just didn't look like he wanted to be there. And I hesitate to psychoanalyze a fighter. I have no idea what Calvin Kattar's got going on in his life.
Sure.
I have no idea how his camp was, but normally he is a reliably blood and guts guy. I mean, we talked before about him, like the fight against Zabit, like just making it close late because he was so gritty and had been getting outclassed. But there was none of that coming here, and there was no real feeling that it was going to be coming. Kattar just looked flat.
Yeah, he obviously he's recovering from a serious injury. He's up there in age, so it could be a combination of everything. What bothered me, I thought Sterling had success on the feet against more decorated striker than Kattar because Kattar was so paranoid about Sterling's wrestling that he couldn't really let his hands go. The problem is if you're going to be paranoid about someone's wrestling, at least stop the wrestling. That's all you thought about was his wrestling, and he still took you down over, and it got worse as the fight went on. He built a lot of times you'll see guys get taken down early and then they kind of, okay, now I stop one, I stop two. It was the opposite. Sterling started to get into his hips even easier, and I mean he broke Calvin's spirit. I'll say this. So on the good side of Sterling is an extremely intelligent fighter. He's very good at disguising his, like, people are like, wow, man, how does he always get these takedowns? Because he disguised it, because the way he dips so much, which is dangerous, and he can get caught with something. But the way he dips, it looks like he's going to go for a takedown. Like he's going, and that's when he kind of comes over the top with a punch from a weird angle or a kick. And it's like, oh shit. And then he starts landing some shots. And then all of a sudden, right when you start thinking about striking, he turns it right back into wrestling. He's on your hips. His control is really good. He's a guy, he'll play it safe. I mean, why wouldn't you play it safe? I mean, I think Kattar looked bad, but Sterling holding a guy like Calvin Kattar to force significant strikes in 15 minutes, that's crazy impressive.
That's pretty much the last that needs to be said about it. Again, Kattar didn't look great, but part of that may have been that he quickly realized that he didn't like what he was getting from Sterling.
Yeah, no, I don't think Aljo is going to win the title at 145, but I'll say this. It's not out of the realm of possibility because of his intelligence, because of that wrestling style. He's always going to be a threat to anybody, even guys that Sterling's not a guy when you look at him, he jumps off the page at you. We're like, oh, look at this. But he finds ways to beat the guys who do jump off the page at you, and that makes him a serious threat. As far as Kattar, he's got to do something. If he wants to continue his career, he's got to do something drastic. I think he's got to change his team. Like, he's been in New England, he's been comfortable. I'm not trying to bash his team. I think he needs to go outside. Like, go out to the American Top Team, work with Steve Mocco or something like that, work on his wrestling. Like, he's got to do something. Because it's only gone so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's already at one of the biggest and arguably the best team in his area. So yeah, it would need to be, if he were to try to reboot things that way, it would have to be kind of a big move. Yeah.
I want to match pick Kattar first because Sterling one might be surprised you who I pick. What'd you do with Kattar?
I mean, Kattar just turned 36. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. It's somebody way down and out of the top 15. I mean, he really needs to, at this point, to be matched against the kind of guy that's like, won 3 in a row coming out of the Contender Series. Like, I didn't even dig for, dude, I didn't even dig for a specific name. Well, I got one for you.
I got one for you. So he headlined a lot of UFC. It was like there was so many pay-per-views in a row. I mean, main events in a row he had. So he still has like a name value. Plus, still on UFC 300. I'm giving him the up and comer. I'm giving the guy we saw tonight. Give me Diego Lopes.
Oh, I like that just fine.
Sterling might surprise you, I pick. 140. So we always talk about the best divisions being 135 to 170. If we were ranking them, and I mean, it's really splitting hairs. 145 to me is the lowest division. It's the least deep.
I would agree. You know, like it's still great, but it's, yeah, I mean,
I'm going to do a fight that we thought we might get one day. About 6 months ago, it would have 6 months ago, 9 months ago, it would have headlined a UFC pay-per-view. We got this. I'm having him go against Alex Volkanovski. Give me on a pay-per-view, third from the top on a pay-per-view.
I mean, I don't hate it because I was approaching this from the point of view of considering Sterling's background and achievements and the fact that he's not super young himself. They had to put him into a matchup that's at least remotely credible as a title eliminator.
Yeah.
They don't get more credible than that, like beating the arguably the divisional GOAT. I was thinking of matchups like, you know, Rodriguez or Ortega that are in that realm. But if they make the Volkanovski fight, I could see that as the kind of fight that would grab Volkanovski's interest as well. Because outside of getting an immediate shot back at Topuria, what can he really do at this point that would even be worth putting on his resume?
Does he want to fight?
And in his mind is, yeah.
Does he want to fight Josh Emmett? He don't want to do that.
No.
Give him a former champion.
Exactly. Like that. You could see Volkanovski going, oh, okay, that's an achievement that I could brag to my kids about.
Especially because they were the champions at the same time, and it was talk about, you know, Sterling moving up because of Merab and all that. So
that would be a hell of a fight too. My goodness.
Before that, probably on the prelims, the most talked about prelim headed in, Holly Holm welcomed Kayla Harrison, you know, former champion Holly Holm welcomed PFL champion, former PFL champion Kayla Harrison. And Kayla Harrison dog shit her.
My best call
submission
of the night, my best call of the card. And we're talking about, you and I both went 10 for 13 on this card. We nailed the consensus underdog pick.
Oh yeah, we did.
Now, my best pick on this whole card.
Take that to the bank. Listen, you guys, we don't do a lot of betting advice. If me and Ben both do a consensus underdog, someone pointed that out a while ago that we're pretty good at that. We gotta start taking those to the bank.
Yeah, but my best pick on the whole card was Harrison's going to make weight. I don't care that her Olympic medals were at 170 pounds. I don't care that her MMA achievements were at 155 and she'd only made 145 once and it was like 4 years ago. You don't get to be that level of athlete with that strong a sense of self and screw the pooch on something like that. So she made it. She looked fantastic, like just physically. Like obviously she rehydrated way up. She was definitely bigger than Holm by the time they got in there, but she didn't look drawn. She didn't look like a zombie or like weird Kayla Harrison jerky. And most importantly, she was able to bully Harrison badly. Because here's the thing, like obviously Holly Holm, the top highlight on her reel is head kicking Ronda Rousey. She was most famous for being an undefeated boxer before MMA, but her striking game has not been what's powered her career for the last 5 years. You know, like it's been her wrestling and just her ability to physically bully women at 135 or 145. That was always going to be rough sledding against Kayla Harrison, but I didn't realize how rough it was going to be. Harrison mauled her. And this was a night full of maulings. And it wasn't blood soaked. It wasn't as spectacular as some of the finishes we got, but it was about as complete and thorough as they get. Holm had nothing for Harrison.
Yeah, and there's already people in the chat that's going to take away, you know, a lot of people, very successful people get a lot of hate, and right away people saying, "Oh, she beat a 42-year-old woman." Yeah, she beat a 42-year-old woman who's still been pretty competitive, and
she beat a 42-year-old woman who, was winning a bantamweight title eliminator last summer, before, she got caught by someone who, by the way, ended up pissing hot. I mean,
yeah. So when I think about Kayla at 135, I don't feel like, oh, well, she's gonna be dehydrated. I mean, I was worried about that, obviously, but she looks so good. I mean, so many people are like, oh, she looks so dehydrated. And then I looked at at the weigh-ins, and I looked at Holly Holm. I'm like, she looks exactly the same. Less muscle, but like not happy when she's weighing in. So let me tell you a quick story. This would be a very quick story. I grew up in East Providence, but one year we moved to North Providence. That was 8th grade, and then I moved back to East Providence. And when I was in, so 8th grade had typing class in East Providence, but in North Providence, in 8th grade they had computer class. And then the next year in 9th grade, North Providence did typing, and East Providence did computer. But because I switched, I had to computer 2 years in a row. So I back then I was like floppy disk and shit like that. I don't even know what you did. So I never had typing. So I'm probably in my early 20s and I'm typing, and the guy's some guy's looking over my shoulder, and I kept doing caps locks. Like when I had to do a capital T, I put caps locks, capital T, caps locks off, HE, and I do that, and then I'd go to the next sentence and I cap locks to start to say Ben went to the store, caps lock B, cap locks off. And the funny's why do you keep doing caps lock? I'm like, because I gotta capitalize it. And he goes, dude, just hold shift. And I'm like, because I never had typing class.
That's amazing.
I'm like 25 or something like that. 23. And I'm like, what? I just hold shift. And so it took me a while to kind of get that going. I'm like, I could have been doing this all along. How much easier? And that's why I felt like I was watching with Kayla. How much easier if she just made 135 and fought with elbows her whole career. Because no, mind you, she already looked incredible at PFL other than one fight. But she looked like, ready for me to really hate?
Yeah.
She looked like a female Habib out there.
Yeah.
She looked terrifying.
Agreed. Why didn't she do this the whole time? Who knows? Yeah. We'll never know.
Let me go on a rant for a second. I think the commentary team was actually pretty good tonight, but there was one moment I hated when they kept talking about. So Joe Rogan likes to introduce a narrative and then just runs with it, and then everyone, because it's Joe Rogan, they don't want to go against him. It's one of the most popular guys on earth. You still want to be friends with him. They kept saying, "Oh, why did Holly Holm clinch with her?" Holly Holm did not clinch with her. Kayla Harrison closed the distance, and Holly Holm had no choice.
Yeah,
she didn't go hey, let's wrestling, hey, let's all right, guys, start pummeling, and you both agree okay, I'll go over under, and you start on the other side over under. No, Kayla closed the distance, and she's tried to win the position and try to circle off and get away from it. She couldn't. The pressure from Kayla, and then Kayla threw her, and all she Kayla was being very gracious. Oh, she reversed me. No, Kayla. In judo, unfortunately, they do this a lot. They overthrow it, because in judo, the farther they throw them, the more points you get. So that's why Ronda used to always, when Ronda threw someone, she'd throw her whole hips. It's just something they do. Yeah. Anyways, even later on, she gets back to the clinch again, and she's trying to get her hips away and circle off the cage and then break free. She just couldn't, because Kayla stayed glued to her. Holly wasn't trying to clinch her.
Nope.
She was trying to defend the wrestling. That's what happened. It's it'd be it was like watching Sterling. Dude, why does Calvin keep clinching? He's not. It's Sterling's initiating. Why is Calvin wrestling with Sterling? It's I think, and she's up there in age, but I think she has one of the best personalities in all MMA. And she's one of the most likable, in my opinion. I love Kayla. I'm obsessed with her. I think that she could be the second most marketable female in the history of the sport, behind Ronda Rousey, if they do it right. Because you give her a mic, she's just great.
Yeah, she's. I know there's some people that are rubbed wrong by her personality, but I don't get it.
Which is fine too, though.
Yeah, and yeah, John Jones has made a lucrative career out of being everybody's villain. Hell,
Yeah.
I mean, half the people that tune into Conor McGregor fights want to see him get put in this place. So that's fine too. But yeah, she has an engaging personality. She's not like a laugh riot or anything, but she is like, she's well-spoken, confident. She comes up with, some memorable sound bites just from being kind of intelligent and honest and thoughtful.
Charisma.
And what's that?
She has charisma.
Yeah, she has charisma. And she has, the first time she headlines a pay-per-view for the UFC, once they start digging into her story, she's got a compelling story of parlaying tragedy into triumph. For any people who've been living on Mars and don't know, she was like serially molested by one of her early judo coaches for years and years when she was like a preteen, like groomed from.
If you want to know more about it, I did an interview with her probably about 2 years ago called "Getting Too Personal." It's about like an hour long. We get really deep into it, so check that out. Cheap plug.
Yeah, and she has the look, and I'm not saying like she looks like she's going to end up on Reddit/MMA's like hottest women in fighters, but fighters don't have to be hot to be marketable. It's more the case for women, but
scary.
Look at Cyborg. You just have to look like you're going to kick some ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looks like she could like rip a phone book in half.
Yeah.
So I think, so Ronda had that like mean girl thing. She doesn't have that, but she does have this charisma, and that she's like girl next door and who could also like murder you. I think she's I think she could be the top 5 most marketable fighters in the UFC currently right now. Like, to me, I think she's a star. I had a casual friend who was texting me through the fight. He texted me afterwards. He texted me about 2 people, Max Holloway and Kayla Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Not Alex Pereira, and though I do think he's a star, but didn't mention Weili, didn't mention Armin Tsarukyan, didn't mention Bo Nickal, mentioned Kayla Harrison. I think she's the savior of the division. And because of Amanda Nunes, like tweeted about her and why did she call Amanda Nunes? Like, she might bring Amanda back.
Yeah. Go ahead and finish.
I said Raquel Pennington ain't bringing her back.
No. But keep in mind that Amanda Nunes left American Top Team. And yeah, part of it was she knew she was towards the end of her career. She wanted to stay closer to home. She wanted to stay near her wife. But what she said was, I've been here forever. I'm tired of this new girl like getting the star treatment from everybody here. ATT is a big place.
That's not what I heard. I heard she left because she was sick of getting her ass kicked by Kayla. I just made that up on the spot.
Okay.
Hey, that's how you started though. If I read a promotion, that's what I was saying.
So yeah,
there's a little bit of that John Jones, Rashad Evans thing going.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine Rashad Evans is the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah.
Or if John Jones left the team right now because of some other guy. Yeah, it's I'm giving the title shot right away. I know Raquel Pennington, hey, one win, you don't get the title. Listen, you beat a former champion, do it like that. Like, Juliana Pena likes to talk, but she's not good at it. Everyone finds it cringy. No one it's not like Henry Cejudo was cringy, but there was like this like, I don't know what the
Henry's in on the joke a little bit.
Yes, like she's cringy and she's not trying to be. Like even Colby's cringy, but he's trying to be. She's not trying to be. She's trying to be Ronda Rousey. She's trying to be bad bitch. She's just not good at it.
It's bad. She's female Tito Ortiz, where she's not nearly as good on the mic as she thinks she is, and her funniest and most memorable moments are unintentional.
Yeah. So nobody's calling for Juliana Pena versus Raquel Pennington.
Cool Panda, the movie nerd, is typing it, but I don't think that's necessarily like endorsing it, just predicting.
I think I think it's definitely. I think they'd be crazy not to give Kayla I think honestly, I'm going to double down. Not only do I do Kayla Harrison title fight, I put it on International Fight Week. I think she's that big of a star. I put it co-main event International Fight Week.
I'm interested to see whether she can actually move the needle as the A side of a pay-per-view. Because here's the thing. We've talked about like the biggest stars in MMA history, the biggest female stars in MMA history. There has been one who could actually sell pay-per-views.
Yeah, Rousey.
Just that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's popular, and then there's, in order to sell pay-per-views, almost by definition, you do have to appeal to casuals.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, otherwise, you know, Demetrius Johnson wouldn't have been buried on Fox cards for like 6 title defenses in a row.
Yeah, but her physique does that. Like her personality, her physique, the way she fights, the way she was smacked. I mean, you watched Holly Holm left in a puddle of blood, like
yeah,
beat the shit. They know who Holly Holm is. They know that Holly. I mean, cats don't follow like we do, but they know. Oh, Holly Holm, yeah, she high kicked Ronda Rousey. She's incredible. Like, wait, here's this new judo girl with even more, like, bigger muscles than Ronda Rousey and more accolades who just mauled Holly Holm. Who is this?
I like I say, I'm not discounting the possibility, but I'm gonna adopt a wait and see approach because I love watching her fight and I am perfectly happy to listen to her talk, but I'm waiting to see, you know, what it'll look like when they put a pay-per-view on her admittedly broad shoulders.
Yeah, so we sometimes when you match make, it's easy to make a match. Like it's things that just jump out right at you. The other ones you kind of have to dig through the roster. This was one of the fights I thought both people were super easy. They were just Raquel Patton, Holly Holm, do the Misha Tate rematch.
As I assume Holm wants to keep cash on the checks.
Yeah,
I mean she still is competitive against people not named Harrison.
Fight either a fight night main event just because of the history, or you put on a pay-per-view main card of a pay-per-view or something like that. This will probably be a quick one to go. Sadiq Yusuff took on Diego Lopes. Lopes won by first round TKO. Do you think it was an early stoppage?
Well, I picked Yusuff, so of course it's an early stoppage.
well, Sean Sheehan tweeted this out. Shout out to Sean Sheehan, our buddy. He got rocked, and then he went down. He took his gut back mount and punched him one time. The referee jumped in. Now, I think it was inevitable. Like, I think about 10, 12 more punches would come right after it. I just thought, like, you got to give him the chance to get out of it. I think it was a little early. I don't think it would have changed the outcome. I think the referee saved him from damage, but I thought it was early.
Yeah, I agree that it was early. I was kind of joking before. It was a little early. I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the fight, but just leave it so no reasonable person has any room to complain about it. Having said that, like Yusuff didn't make things any better on himself. Like it wasn't a great visual, the position he was in and how he was reacting to the strikes that might have gotten the ref to jump in. But man, regardless of whether you thought the fight ended too quickly, I think for Sadiq Yusuff, it started too quickly. He is too used to being a little lackadaisical in the first 30 seconds of a fight. I just don't think many people come right at him and try to put it on him. And yeah. Lopes did. And it was the Cowboy Cerrone thing. It was like, did you warm up backstage?
Yeah, he got blasted with an uppercut. I mean, dude, this guy's doing Disney shows, man. Dude, he just got knocked to Neverland. Like he blasted him.
Yeah,
the guy's seeing Tinkerbell now. When you stop a fight early, you obviously the guy who lost, you cheat him, but you also cheat the guy who wins a little bit, especially if it was going to stay the same. Like this, the fact that we're even bringing it up right now. Again, like someone in the chat, I want to get who was it? Somebody, Icy Vegeta said, is Yusuff damaged goods or Lopes a real contender? I think Lopes is the real deal.
Yep, Lopes is the real deal. This is not the Sterling Cater fight where we have to ask, okay, was it column A or column B? Because this was Sadiq Yusuff displaying kind of one of his known tendencies and just coming up against a fighter who, through natural tendency and probably through preparation, was prepared to make him pay for it.
Yeah, what impressed me most was this guy came in as a grappler. I mean, he's starching guys. I mean, this guy's shown well-rounded. He's on this 3-fight winning streak since coming in. I mean, obviously he took on Evloev on really short notice. I mean, this guy's looks sensational. They put him on UFC 300 because they believe in him. I believe,
and that bothers me because I really don't want to spend the next 3 or 4 years watching a guy fight that looks like he's in Fallout Boy. But what can you do? He's here to stay, and he is an exciting addition to the division. Like
is that a movie? I don't get that reference.
It's a band.
Okay.
Terrible band.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think.
They make fun of me now again. They're gonna call me a boomer again.
I'm trying to think of fighters that I've been more wrong about my initial take on them within like the first 4 fights of when they got to the UFC, and it's him right behind Steve Erceg, who's fighting for a title soon. Like,
yeah. So I've already matched him against Calvin Kattar. What would you do with him?
Again, what with Lopes?
Yeah,
I'm a-okay with that. Like, that's Lopes has earned that kind of name, and if Kattar still is the guy he was a year and a half ago, I mean, he is capable of being extremely dominant against the right fighter. Like,
yeah,
like look what he did to Chikaze.
Yeah. Oh,
when Chikaze was kind of hot shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm not. Yeah. So
a lot of people thought that was a bad matchup for Kattar. I mean, Kattar was incredible.
Yeah. So I like that one just fine.
Yusuff, I feel like I definitely think there's some damaged goods, but he's he headlined his last card. He was on UFC 300 this one, so he's got a little bit of name value. So I kind of want to use him not to get over the next guy, but put him against someone that kind of deserves a little bit of a bump. So I'm gonna give him Nate Landwehr. The guy can talk. The guy's been successful a lot. Throw him like a
Nate Landwehr, he can definitely talk. I mean, I have a tougher time understanding his accent than Yuri Prochazka's, but yeah, I like that just fine.
Before that, so now now we're on the early prelim. This is crazy that we just now reaching the early prelims, so we still got 4 bangers. Renato Moicano took on Jalen Turner. Renato Moicano winning by 2nd round TKO. If Jalen Turner doesn't walk away, does he win that fight? So Jalen Turner dropped Moicano bad, and then he tried getting did a $300K bonus, cost him the fight because he was trying to have that Mark Hunt big moment. The whole crowd goes crazy, and he didn't get it.
It was one of the biggest blunders like I've seen in a while in high level MMA. He completely walked away from what should have been the biggest win of his career, like literally walked away from it. And you don't let a guy as dangerous as Moicano, like you slam the door on a guy like that. Like,
yeah, I can't say for sure that he would have followed up and would have 1 or 2 punches out. I mean, maybe Moicano recovers. I don't know, but what I was even more upset about, if I was like his corner, is when Moicano got up. I don't think Turner knew how much time was left. Like, he got up on his feet and he was hurt bad, and there was about 15 seconds left. And he was just like, he talks to Herb Dean first, whatever referee was. He talks to the referee like, "Why don't you stop it?" And then he starts walking towards him, but he's not like turning up. And he's like, "Moicano's clearly hurt. And you got like 10 seconds before you got to have a break." And he never does anything. He just kind of jabs from far distance or.
That's when you uncork your spinning wheel kick.
Oh yeah, that's when you go flying knee and then follow up with a 10-punch because he could have put him out, and I don't think he knew how much time was left. Has Moicano stopped talking yet? Does anybody know? Has he cut off his mic yet? Is he still talking?
Well, he's definitely used up his quota of motherfuckers.
Yeah. They don't have Bruce Buffer can't say Jim fucking Miller, but Moicano can drop 900 motherfuckers.
I mean, it was a hell of a promo. Like it's a moment when he wins.
Yeah. So one thing I thought Turner would do better on the ground than he showed, but it almost feel like he went backwards on the ground than improvements we've seen, and this really became like a striker versus grappler matchup. And if I knew that was going to be the case, where Turner was that bad on the ground, though I didn't think he was, I would have taken Moicano.
Moicano he's such a good grappler, and
He's really good.
Like and underratedly like solid positionally. It's not like he's just like this wild man pulling off, low percentage submissions and caring nothing for position. Like he has nasty ground and pound. He's good at securing position and doing damage while advancing. Like he's a great grappler. I didn't expect his advantage to be that big, but I mean, I still would have favored Turner just because I figured Turner would knock him out before Moicano got a chance to bring it to the ground. And I was wrong on that. So like, I'm happy to take the L there.
Yeah. Sorry to mention Moicano versus Gaethje. Did you have somebody from Moicano?
No, but you know what? He's earned his way into a top 10-ish matchup. So I don't hate that at all. And while his stream of craziness on the mic is like, I mean, it gives me a little bit of a headache, it's memorable. And the more they stick a mic in his face, the more he's going to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Anthony Tardiff says versus Dariush. I mean, I don't mind that. Get what you can out of Dariush. He's aging fast. So yeah.
If I'm Turner, I'm giving him a striker. I'm gonna get like this guy's on like the potential's there, especially on the feet, but I'm gonna give him like he's gonna have to like you can't avoid grapplers forever, but I'm gonna give him like a favorable matchup, someone who's gonna stand in the pocket and throw down. Tardiff mentioned the same one. Give me Drew Dober. Drew Dober is crazy enough to throw down the pocket. Give me like a fight night co-main event or like a pay-per-view opener or something, and just have these two guys slinging it out.
I like that just fine. Or if you think that back-to-back losses have dipped Rafael Fiziev enough to make it worth kind of having them meet, I don't hate that either.
Before that, Jessica Andrade took on Marina Rodriguez, winning by split decision. I tweeted this out. I scored the fight for Jessica Andrade, but somehow I thought Marina Rodriguez looked better.
I came to a related conclusion because I was happy to get the pick right on this one. I picked Andrade, but the way it played out did not leave me feeling great. Like, even though she got the W here, Andrade is looking more and more like a spent force to me. And that says a lot considering she was the younger woman in this fight by like almost 5 years.
Yeah, she used to be able to slip punches and then counter. She doesn't slip punches now. I mean, so like Rodriguez ended up losing. One point she starts off the fight looking really good, and then she slips. She slips, end up on bottom, and doesn't get off. There's a round over. Second round, she is piecing Andrade up like she's teeing off on her. And then the last 20 seconds, 30 seconds, she like gets back to the cage, gets hit, gets kind of rocked a little bit, and then Andrade is like teeing off on her, and like, wow, you just lost 4.5 minutes of making Andrade look like a punching bag and just lost a round. I will say this: I like Andrade better at 115 than 125. And she just beat a good fighter in the division. So she showed that she has a lot of life left in her. I don't feel confident moving forward. Like I see a decline in her, and I just expect it to continue.
Completely agree. Yeah, I hate to be such a doomsayer, but we may look back a year or two from now and realize that this was Jessica Andrade's last top 10 win.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Rodriguez has a huge flaw. She's not a bad grappler. I mean, we've had moments. She almost caught Jessica Andrade in a submission, she struggles to get off the bottom, and that's an issue. She struggles to stop takedowns. So
yeah.
Andrade is still a big name. What would you do with her?
See if see, like I was thinking of like pushing her back up to 125 and using her to like build somebody like Macy Barber.
Macy Barber?
Yeah. If she wants to stay at 115, I don't know. Because a lot like strawweight still has the same problem it did 3 years ago. So many of the women in the top 10 have all fought each other. And unlike 125, 115 doesn't really have this youth movement of 5 or 6, fresh faces making their way up the top 10. Like she's fought Zhang, she's fought Yan, she's fought Lemos.
Because it's Jessica Andrade and she's on UFC 300 and she's she's a former champion. She has a little bit of a name. She's mentioned that she never fought Verna Jandiroba. Like she just mentioned it on media day, just in passing, as like the only person in the division she really hasn't fought. I'd do that fight.
Okay, I mean, especially if Tatiana Suarez is ready to go and can fight Weili Zhang next. If Jandiroba can beat Andrade, then we have a no question she's the next woman up.
Yeah. Rodriguez, I'm using her. I'm kind of using her name to give somebody a big step up in competition. The size difference would be massive.
You and I have the bets at the same name, I bet, but go ahead.
I'm giving her a Loma. Give her a Loma Lubumbi. She's I mean, the size would be so bad, but she's won 5 out of 6. She deserves a big step up.
And Rodriguez would probably love to fight, like a former Muay Thai champ. I mean, I was thinking of someone like Tabitha Ricci or Lupe Godinez, who are like short and compact women themselves, but they're not like Loma short.
Yeah, I think Tabitha Ricci is booked. I don't know. I want to say like maybe just no. I know she's booked.
Yeah, she's fighting Tisha, formerly Torres.
Oh, Tisha. I knew someone shortly.
Yeah,
Tisha
like
Torres.
in May. Yeah.
You know what? I don't mind Andrade fighting the winner of that one.
Hey, and they're both super short.
There you go. Yeah, I know. Before that, Jim fucking Miller took on Bobby Green, and Bobby Green winning a unanimous decision. One of the scorecards was 30-25. Wow.
So bad.
So I have so many notes on this fight. I'm trying to. I think I didn't pace myself too much. I was like a sprinter at like a 5K, like UFC 300 start, and I'm like, I was running. I got so many notes on the second fight of the night. So Bobby Green had a huge speed advantage. Yes. I like how he was changing his rhythm, had him guessing. The teep kicks and the step in knees were something that was really, I think, taking a toll on Jim Miller, slowing down a guy that was already really slowed down. Bobby Green was really good at landing, slipping back, and then landing again. He was like landing the first and third, being first and third in exchanges. One thing I like that he was doing, because he's had problems with judging and kind of coasting, and if I'm not getting hit, I'm winning. When Miller was landing and he was blocking, he was like announcing that he blocked it, which is actually pretty smart. Like he got kicked, he blocked, like, got me in my forearm. Like,
yeah.
I thought there was some things that Bobby Green did really well. The bad thing is, I'm still worried about him getting knocked out, because he uses so much of a rolling and slipping. He keeps his chin down. He's been cracked. Even Jim Miller at one point kind of buckled on this when he got, killed by Jalen Turner. Tony Ferguson hurt him. He trusts his chin without realizing it's starting to crack.
Agreed. I mean, I gave Miller the first round based on hurting Green a couple times. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure if we looked at the numbers, Green landed greater volume, but Miller had like Green actually staggering in place a couple times. I thought in terms of damage, like he definitely won the first round. Then Green kind of turned on the jets, and it didn't help that he cut Miller badly, in the first part of round 2. From there, like Miller was all blood and guts, but he didn't even really threaten to be back in the fight again at any point. Like Green would have had to like blunder into a guillotine or slip and fall and get his back taken to lose that fight after about the second minute of round 2.
Yeah, Ninja Kitty points out that our own Sean Sheehan scored the fight 30-25. I wasn't dogging the score. I was just pointing out like how one-sided it was.
I'm dogging the score. Like I love Sean, but Ireland is very, very distant from reality tonight, apparently.
I mean, I think it could have been. I think it could have been like Bobby Green won all 3 rounds, and I think that the second and third could have been 10 rounds.
I give him a 10-8 in the third round. Like 29-27 was my scorecard.
So. Yeah, I thought the second could have been 10-8. So it'd been a really okay. So, I think so. Bobby Green had one. He fought Jim fucking Miller and beat him up in UFC 300, which is always a huge moment. I really think Bobby Green did so well for himself at the big moments this week. He calling out Paddy Pimblett, the way he called him out, it was perfect, and it's the perfect matchup for Bobby Green. That said, it is the worst matchup for Paddy Pimblett.
If Paddy Pimblett has any caring adults in his life, like if you are Paddy's mom, dad, brother, sister, girlfriend, manager, do your job and tell him don't take that fucking fight.
So Bobby Green, he's taking short notice fights, main events. He's got UFC 3. He's got himself a little bit of buzz on him for someone who's, wins one, lose ones, win one, lose ones. So I do think he deserves a big name, especially after beating Jim Miller and such a big card. Everyone keeps mentioning him, a guy in decline. So you guys are going much higher than I am. I'll give him Beneil Dariush, like much higher with Beneil Dariush, I should say. Like I think Bobby Green deserves a big name. Give me Beneil Dariush.
And man, a year or two ago, I would have picked Beneil Dariush so hard in that fight, and now, no. But no, I agree. At this point, it's kind of becoming more and more about what Bobby Green deserves.
And anybody who's ever listened to the show and knows what I've said about Paddy Pimblett, like I put him in, I put him in England, and I give him guys with names but are not big threats.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the wrong guy, if I'm the UFC and this matchup's getting Paddy Pimblett, I'm bringing Jim Miller to England, and I'm having Jim Miller fight Paddy Pimblett.
Honestly, I don't mind that at all. And you know what? Jim Miller would have a sneaky good chance of just knocking Pimblett
absolutely
out in the first round.
it still would be a challenge, and it would be the toughest fight in the UFC for Paddy Pimblett. But if he wins, that's a huge name. It'd be back-to-back huge names he beat. Tony Ferguson and Jim Miller. Jim fucking Miller.
Yeah.
Have some ring announcer say it in like a British accent.
It can't, they have to be allowed to say that in England. Come on.
Like, yeah. The UFC blew it. They're like, I don't know what, like, you can't swear on ESPN, but then McGregor swears a million times. Like, they could have had it. Like, what, you pay a fine or something if you play, whatever. Pay the fine. Like, for one moment, you should have had him. Yeah.
Seriously.
And the first fight of the night, Cody Garbrandt took on Davison Figueiredo. Davison won by second round sub. The first thing I wrote all night was, I can't believe we started the card with something this big.
And honestly, I thought the fight was important. Like, it's important for the division. But it kind of delivered in terms of a fight. It was a better fight than I expected it to be as well.
Yeah, I thought Garbrandt looked all right. I mean, I gave him the first round. I thought he looked all right early, but Davison Figueiredo, I mean, his grappling was great. The way he got to the back and controlled and then used that position to slide all the way across to a head and arm choke, I thought was absolutely brilliant.
It really was. And Garbrandt's ground game has traditionally not been tested much over the years, but it's always been solid.
Yeah, like, it was really good.
If Figueiredo had gone out and just starched Garbrandt in 3 minutes, there would have been more question marks left, because it would have been like, oh, Cody bit down on the mouthpiece again, got into another firefight that he couldn't. This was more interesting. This was more convincing. This told me more about Davis and Figueiredo's ceiling at 135.
Yeah. One thing I like, so he in the first round, he almost had Garbrandt in a submission. He was squeezing really long. I wonder if he was still at flyweight, if that same situation, if he would have gassed himself out where he didn't gas out at 135, put more fuel. Would that have changed the outcome of the fight?
I completely agree, but I see it just the flip side of the same coin, because I said a few times over the years that we've been doing this that at 125, Figueiredo fights like a guy guarding his gas tank.
Yeah. He might not be going for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he would have been so willing to engage in the wrestling and grappling as he was against Garbrandt. Like he and Aljamain Sterling both seemed almost like they just took a deep breath for the first time in a while. And
he did control a lot in the first round. Like his output on the feet for the first 3-4 minutes was kind of low, and he could have been setting traps and everything. But I think some of that was also pacing his output, which just shows intelligent. I'm still worried about his chin, and even Garbrandt buckled him a couple times. Moreno buckled him a couple times in that fight. I still think there's big signs of suddenly gonna hit a cliff with Figueiredo.
I agree. He's gonna hit a cliff. And he's just kind of trying to run and stay out ahead of it. I think he already basically had hit the cliff at 125.
Garbrandt, on the other hand, he had moments in the fight where I thought he looked pretty good, especially early. I'm not too down on performance. The problem is in this division, taking a loss, dude sunk. He's that Cody's back thing it's over. Unfortunately, he's lost too many times that even when he makes a run, he can't afford a loss now.
I'm totally on board. But if he wants to stick around, there are plenty of hungry up and comers that you could use that name to build off of. That's the guy you throw your
give me one.
Jr.
Give me who?
Raul Rosas Jr.
Oh, you're really going young. I know Rosas is fighting the Houston guy again. The one that he was booked in when he pulled out. What's his name?
Wait,
the Wild Man.
Who is?
The Rosas, the Wild Man from Houston.
Oh,
who?
Ricky Tercios?
Yeah, Tercios. Yeah. They got rebooked. But I went with Daniel Marcos. He's undefeated. He's a good striker.
I like Marcos just fine. The other name I had in the mix was Chris Gutierrez.
Okay. So kind of guy getting a bounce back.
He's already got Frankie Edgar on his trophy mantle. They can he can put Cody Garbrandt's head there too.
Anthem Tardif and Tofu Bucket through
Peyton Talbot.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's a big step up in competition, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. And Jade from MMA Mic Drop is throwing out Adrian Yanez. I like that because Yanez is a up and comer who's taken a serious loss and needs a little bit of a bounce back. So he's not, so I don't hate that one either. But if you're just using,
I think Giannis' name, I feel like Giannis is booked too. I'm not sure.
I can't remember, but he probably is because it's been a while since he fought and he hasn't been injured. So
figure out the division is so deep and stacked, and a lot of guys are booked. So I was trying to find a name for Figueiredo, and I'm like, who still pushes the needle? Give me Figueiredo versus Dominic Cruz.
I would be interested to see the fight. As much as I'm ambivalent about Cruz as a commentator, I actually always enjoyed watching him as a fighter. I want to see him do his thing as many times as we can before he swings off into the sunset. Honestly, he kind of dismissed the idea. Figueiredo dismissed the idea of fighting Petr Yan. He was lobbying for an immediate title shot, but I like him versus Yan. Okay. If he has chin problems, we'll find out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we have covered all 13 fights. Let's get to the fun stuff. You know what? Let's do this. I don't have a single person for the cut list. I'm keeping everybody.
Congratulations, Cody Brundage.
You get Garbrandt. He was on a winning streak before you know. You got to cut.
Well, he was the only one that I was even really going to consider.
Oh, I said the guy's on the
Yeah.
main card of
Yeah.
UFC 300. You're cutting him, man. Go home. He's like, go home. Spend more time with Bobby Cooper.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do the awards. So this is the big one. The big, you don't see this in the NFL and NBA where players have to like beg for awards and everything. But it was a nice moment where at the press conference where Dana's like, all right, let's do 300 bonuses. And the entire crowd cheering Dana's name, and it was kind of fun. I mean, whatever. I saw those, like, there's a certain amount of media people that like complain about, oh, that shows you that they could always give these kind of bonuses. Yes, it does. I understand the UFC is great. Yes, we understand that. Yes. We get that. But like, you want to be that one person to like take a nice moment and make it be a negative. Anyways, side note.
All I throw out there is I would have been even happier if they'd made this one of those cards where all the finishers get 50,000, because some pretty good stuff got excluded.
Oh yeah.
Tonight.
So we have. Do we have the awards?
We do. We have a fight of the night and 2 performances of the night. So
okay.
a total of.
Do you agree with them?
2. Yeah, I'm good with them.
All right. So fight of the night and 2 performances.
Yep.
Man. You're right. I have a bunch of performances that I like. Fight of the night. It's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be what we expected. It's Halloween, and guys, throw it in the chat what you guys would do. But yeah. Holloway and Gaethje, I would definitely do fight of the night. Performance of the night, you got to get Pereira. I mean, one punch. See, the problem is I have a couple people from my last one. Lopes, Harrison. I mean, Harrison mauled Holly Holm. Lopes, first round knockout. You know what? This is going to be so bad for me to do this because this is not. I'm not guessing. I'm not guessing it. This is my list.
Yeah.
Just for those people watching the first time. If I was Dana White and I was writing checks, because I mean Kayla Harrison mauling Holly Holm would be memorable, and Lopez. We've seen knockouts like this. I'm giving him a double. You're Holloway, and you move up, and you say you're winning a fight, and you say let's throw down right here, and you have an all-time in a fight you're winning, and then have an all-time knockout. I'm giving Holloway 600. I'm giving them both. What would you do, Ben? Before you tell me what you would do.
What I would do, I would have given Holloway versus Gaethje fight of the night. If I'm forced to give just one performance, just 2 performances of the night, I'm giving one to Holloway. And much as I hate to do this with the headliner, I think Alex Pereira probably would get my other performance of the night, but I'm not mad at the one they gave.
So we have the same one.
Yeah. What actually won?
Well, let's read some listeners real quick. I'll let you.
Okay.
I'll let you.
So, I see Figueiredo says Holloway versus Gaethje performances of the night to Lopes and Moicano. See, that's what I'm saying about giving every finisher a bonus would have felt really kind of just and deserved on this card, because they were all pretty. I mean, there were some hella finishes on this card, dude.
You know what though? This is what I'll say. If they didn't go 300K like that, would we have had that Holloway moment? Would he have taken that for 50K? Would he have tried it? I mean, 50K is a lot of money, but like 300K, I mean, that's a house. I mean, he's from Hawaii, so 300K is like a sleeping bag, maybe. But
yeah. I mean, you take the good and you take the bad, because we might not have had what's his name? Jalen Turner. Trying to walk off. So
that's a good point. So what were the awards?
Your fight of the night, unsurprisingly, Gaethje versus Holloway. Yeah. Your performances of the night go to Max Holloway, who did in fact sock away $600,000 with that punch. And your other goes to Yuri Prochazka for his pounding out of Alexander Rakic.
You're telling me UFC Alex Pereira won shots the guy in the main event, and he doesn't get. Wow, that's crazy. If I'm Alex Pereira and I know some guy who got 300K for a second round knockout, and I just one punch the guy I'm complaining about that. 50K, that's bad enough to swallow that pill you get, but 300K. But hey, good for the samurai.
Yeah,
good for maybe he's got some extra bills he's got to pay. So, guys, we're gonna do. Let's do dude seriously. You have any dude? I have a bunch of dude seriously. I have 8 of them.
oh my goodness.
I mean, I want big for UFC 300.
I mean, I've got the screamingly obvious Turner's failed walk-off.
Okay.
I've got Moicano's entire post-fight interview where he went deep on several subjects that I seriously don't know what the hell he was talking about. I know he recommended a book to me that I don't remember and a podcast that I don't remember.
He loves the Constitution though, and he loves freedom of speech.
Yeah, he loves.
That's why he's dropping those F-bombs. He loves freedom of speech. All right, I'll give you some. Bobby Green saying that he's gonna have a big upset win over Jim Miller when he was the favorite. Like, dude, seriously? He's like a 2-1 favorite.
Did he just mean that people were going to be upset about it? I'm
going to stay with the same fight. Like, Bruce Buffer. Like, come on, dude. You got to say Jim fucking Miller. Come on, dude. Seriously? One time. It was UFC. Not every card, but UFC 300. Come on. I've said this one before. I'm going to do it again. The Bobby Green, like, grabbing water and, like, Triple H spitting it. It's just so gross. Like, don't do it. Dude, seriously. Like, when Triple H does it, he's by himself on the apron and it goes over just himself. One, you're stealing somebody else's gimmick. But two, like, you're spitting on the referee, you're spitting on the cameraman, the freaking opponent. It's just gross.
So, yeah, someone's going to get pink eye, dude. Yuck.
Yeah. Dudess, seriously, I should say. Marina Rodriguez, you're Brazilian. Like, stop coming out to ship it up to Boston for your entrance song. Dude, seriously. How about a good dude, seriously? UFC, bring back Face the Pain. Dude, seriously? Nice
man, the members of STEM are going to get some royalty checks in the mail 6 months from now.
Good for them. How about the fighters? They jump over the cage. Diego Lopes jumps over the cage, begs Dana White for a 300K bonus. Dude, seriously, did you see who was standing right next to him when that happened? How about Mark Zuckerberg? He's worth 190 billion. You could say, "Hey Mark, you like that? Can I get 300K for that?" Dude, seriously, put him on the spot. He's getting on Facebook. Put him on the spot. He's one of the richest people in the world. He probably toss it. That'd be like me giving you $1.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably got that in his couch cushions at home right now.
Yeah. All right, dude. All right, this one bothers me. Like, the whole, like, fake samurai. Like, oh, he's a fake samurai. I'm not a samurai. I'm from Czech, but I am a samurai. Like, why is this the debate? Like, dude, seriously, the dude, no one really thinks he's a samurai. He's not living in the 1200s of Japan and, like, battling other warriors to the death, like stabbing people and ripping their guts out. No, just because he has a weird haircut.
You looked at his top knot tonight. He only had 4 stripes in it, so he's one promotion away from being a samurai anyway, right? You know, okay. Like maybe with the finish tonight, they.
And my last one, Glover to share. Dude, what are you doing with your black belts? Dude, seriously, the guy wins by a left hook knockout. Here's your black belt. Like, dude, seriously.
That's
the guy who can't wrestle. You're gonna make him a black belt. Come on, you make your black belts not worth it. So. All right, guys, we're going to do the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are stock market reference. We're going to do bigger than we normally do. We normally do 3 because it's UFC 300. We're going to do 5. Ben, we're going to do 5.
Okay.
Let's go negative.
Okay.
You mind if I go first?
Go for it.
All right. So what we do it. Usually we do 3 stars, 3, 2, 1. This is the list you don't want to be on. We're going to do 5. My number 5, he's still a star, so that's why he's very bottom. But it's going to be Charles Oliveira. I mean, this guy was supposed to fight for the title. He lost that opportunity from a cut. Now he's behind Poirier. He's behind Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, possibly Max Holloway. I mean, he's down on the list for a title shot, and he's up there in age. So Charles Oliveira's stock definitely dropped. My number 4, I mean, it's Cody Garbrandt. What we just talked about. I don't think he looked that bad, but in that division, I mean, the Cody Garbrandt's going to make a run for the title. Then he was talking about, I'm going to fight Sean O'Malley, rivalry. He's trying to build up. Like, yeah, I guess he'll fight Sean O'Malley if O'Malley goes on like a 5-fight losing streak. My number 3, it's got to be Sadiq Yusuff. I mean, it's 2 fights in a row. He's been in big fights. He was in main event, and then UFC 300. He lost 2 in a row. He's lost 3 out of 5. Every time he's taken a step up, like when he lost to Arnold Allen, every time he's taken a step up, he's lost it. So Sadiq Yusuff. My number 2, Alexander Rakic. Again, I don't think he looked bad, but he's lost 2 in a row now. He hasn't won a fight in over 3 years. So Alexander Rakic. And my number 1, Calvin Kattar. I mean, lost 3 in a row, 4 out of 5. His last win was over 2 years ago. I mean, people saying that he looked done. He landed 4, one of the biggest fights of his career. He landed 4 total punches, significant punches. Not good. I'm gonna read some of the listeners' beers before you go, Ben.
Go for it.
Icy Brigada says Hill, Joe Rogan's commentary, Cody Garbrandt, Justin Gaethje, and Jalen Turner's fight. Yeah, Jalen Turner, that's a good one. MMA, Mike Drop, Gaethje, Hill, Oliveira, Garbrandt, and
Yusuff.
Yeah, Yusuff. Real quick, I want to say yourself. I'm like, what the hell we do?
Hey, wait. Come on.
Ninja Kitty's giving me shit for not putting Jalen Turner number 1. Yeah, I probably blew that one.
I won't add 5 more full, picks to your 5 because otherwise, basically, we're getting close to naming everybody who lost. But yeah, I will definitely throw Turner out there, not just because he lost, because barring something weird, 13 people were going to lose, but more so than anybody else who lost, maybe even Rakic, he had this.
He did.
And just made a split-second poor choice that I have the feeling this one's going to eat him up for a long time. Because at age 28, with the gifts he has, I still think Jalen Turner, Jalen Turner could wash out of the UFC, come back 3 years from now at welterweight, and just go on a fucking tear. Like, that would not be outside the realm of possibility.
Maybe light heavyweight, how big is he?
Yeah. He might do like a Rumble Johnson and come back weighing like 215 pounds. Like, but this was a bad one, and he literally has no one to blame but himself. I will throw Justin Gaethje out there. Once more, the most relentlessly entertaining fighter in MMA history, was relentlessly entertaining, but he got thoroughly beaten by Max Holloway, and even to the extent of losing at the things that we would have thought he'd win at. Like, if somebody was going to win with a single, like, just walk-off punch for the ages, it was going to be Gaethje, only it wasn't. So it's unfortunate that he had to be on the wrong end of one of the best fights we'll ever see.
All right, let's go over to the Bulls. These are the people who had a good night, or a storyline or something that had a good night. You want to be on this list. Ben, I'll let you kick it off.
All right. Considering that we each want to name a bunch, I'm not going to cheat and just do a category of like fighters getting comfortable in a heavier weight class, but I'm going to name a couple individually. Davis and Figueiredo and Aljamain Sterling will be my number 4 and number 5 because they're both in a similar situation. They're former champs they're late in their careers. Maybe not in the absolute final stage, though Figueiredo is close, but they've got a limited amount of time to really make a case for a title shot in their new division. And both of them did it tonight. And both of them did it not just by getting a win on the biggest stage, but by looking good in their new weight class. So good for both of them. Alex Pereira, it's as weird as it is that you got a black belt for knocking a guy out. Weird distinctions and weird achievements just seem to follow this guy. I asked on the preview, who has accomplished more in this few fights as a professional? And you're stuck with Brock Lesnar or people who competed in the 90s. And in both cases, it's because the field was so empty and much less well-developed. Like, Alex Pereira shouldn't be doing this stuff at middleweight and light heavyweight, and he is. And it's been generally thrilling to watch. Max Holloway, you are the baddest dude on the planet. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the BMF title could be retired now. He could just keep that at home.
How you gonna top that moment? How you gonna top that?
How are you gonna top that? Because the thing is, the other BMF fights, like the first one was actually, it was just kind of an okay fight.
Oh, hey, I didn't even catch this. I know they had Mark Coleman come out. Did Mark Coleman put the belt around him?
Yeah, they had just a quick moment, but like they made the mistake of doing that and then interviewing Holloway, and he gave like a long interview. So Coleman ended up standing there for like 10 full minutes, after. Yeah.
I was so blown away at the moment. I think I was like in like a different realm.
Well, when Coleman came walking out with his daughter, I wanted Fedor to come out and do a jump scare and see if his daughter started crying. And my number one, Kayla Harrison. Speaking of people looking good in a new weight class, there's not much more she could have done. She fought a top 3 fighter who was in a title eliminator less than a year ago. Absolutely woman handled her and looked like somebody, more importantly, who could make 135 a couple more times if she had to. That makes her my biggest winner on the night.
Yeah. I'll give you, I mean, all those. I mean, I had Max Holloway number 1. I mean, Kayla Harrison was my number 2. So I'll mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna go with Money Moicano. I mean, this guy he's now through, won 3 in a row since becoming Money Moicano, killing on the mic. He's super funny. So, he wants to kill bad people as a cop and pregnant women when he's 62 years old, like his dad. Moicano continues to bounce up the scales. Number 4, Diego Lopes. 3 wins in a row, spectacular, all of them. I mean, his one loss was on day's notice against Evloev, in a fight that was a barn burner. I mean, he didn't have a poor performance. He had moments in that, a lot of moments in that fight. So, my number 3, Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, yeah, it wasn't a lot of people thought he should have lost, and you got to win over Charles Oliveira. It's a win over Charles Oliveira. That's on your resume forever. So, I mean, if he doesn't win the title or anything like that, he still beat Charles Oliveira. So, my number 2, how about American Top Team? They went 4-0. I already mentioned a bunch of them. Moicano, Tsarukyan. You mentioned Kayla Harrison and Bo Nickal. 4-0 American Top Team. And my number 1, I'm going to go UFC. They stacked the card. They did a lot of things right tonight. We like to pick on the UFC and say things they did wrong. They did a lot of things. They were nostalgic at times. And then like the results. I mean, Pereira's a star. That's who they wanted to win. Walk off. They have a Chinese star, dominant champion. I mean, that was going to happen no matter what. But they had the dominant champion, the one who's already been marketed more, wins. Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, all-time. You have an all-time moment that's going to be. I mean, that's going to be in the. Bob O'Reilly highlight forever. You have Bo Nickal wins. You have a new star in Kayla Harrison. You have Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, they probably let Charles win, but it wasn't perfect. But you had so many. I mean, Aljamain Sterling looks good in a new weight class. Diego Figueiredo's another contender in a new weight class. Everything went almost perfect for them tonight. So I think the ultimate winner tonight was the UFC, the fans, everyone in attendance, everyone who watched. Nobody's disappointed. I mean, unless you're, I don't know, Calvin Kattar's family member, but generally speaking, everyone's happy.
I forgot something. I forgot one of my seriously.
All right, throw one out.
Inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, or at least the announcement made. Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen 1 is going to go into the fight wing of the UFC Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Okay. This is a fight that was 2 minutes away from being reverted to a no contest when Chael pissed hot afterwards. Like, you're literally having a fight where one of the guys tested positive for steroids in your Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And if he had won, there's no possible way it goes into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Hey, so what you're saying is there's hopes for Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa.
Well, if Dana White ran the Baseball Hall of Fame, it would depend in every case on how he personally felt about it.
Yeah, how if he liked him or not. Like, McGuire's in, but Clemens is out.
Yeah.
All right. Grade. I mean, to me, A plus. A plus.
A plus. I've had a few things to complain about, but it's like I paid $80. Somebody gave me a Rolls Royce and the hood ornament is bent. It's still an A plus. Yeah. Well, I'll need to like kind of digest it for a while. I'll rewatch the whole thing, but it's up there for the best cards I've ever seen.
I don't think the hood ornament it's like there's a piece of lint on the floor. That's what happens at Rolls Royce. What always the hardest question. Who's your listener of the night?
Man, why are you gonna do this to me? Icy Vegeta was fantastic. Ninja Kitty was fantastic. Anthem Tardif was fantastic. They all belong on the middle podium. Gonna give it to Marcus Mustard because I suspect that Marcus Mustard didn't even watch the whole card and still had like better insights on some of these fights than I did.
There you go. I'm gonna because of UFC 300. I'm gonna do a very special one. He's actually not in the chat today, but he's been in the chat before. It's gonna be from my friend Corey Gronfeld. He's when I first got into doing MMA media, it was for an MMA website called MMA Takeover. He was my right hand man. He just had a baby this week. He had his 5th kid, so I want to say congratulations to him. Unfortunately, he couldn't be there because he was actually in the hospital himself. He's actually battling cancer. I love you, buddy.
Give him hell, man. You got this.
So, all you guys, I'm sorry. Pray for Corey. He needs our prayer. So, sorry, guys. Anyways, sorry, guys. I love you, buddy. UFC 300. We did it big. We thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I got emotional there. But I know I can be cool with you guys. So, anyways, we did it big. I think we did it bigger than anybody else ever will. So we'll be back. We have a week off. And then I don't even know what next. I don't know what next card is. It's usually 300, but I think it's Nikolai fight. And,
it's a Nickal versus Perez, which is kind of the appetizer for Pantoja versus Urseg, which is the weekend after that. So yeah.
So yeah, I gotta go, guys. Sorry. See you next week.
Good night, guys.